Welcome everyone to your meditation, afternoon meditation, and we're going to be doing a discussion session as well after this. So if you're out there on YouTube, stick around, and we're going to be discussing the characteristics of God's teachers, which is section 4 of the manual for teachers of A Course in Miracles. So we're going to do a meditation as well based on section of that section 4, which is on the 8th characteristic of God's teachers, which is faithfulness. So just to prepare yourself, finding somewhere where you're not going to be disturbed for the next 20 minutes, put your phone on mute or silent, sitting comfortably. Put your feet shoulder width apart. Just cup your hands in your lap. Keep your back straight. Close your eyes. And just start off by taking a nice deep breath in through the nose. So breathing in, notice how the stomach pushes out. Feel the stomach rise, just clench the sphincter muscle, which is the muscle used to contract the flow of urine, squeeze the last drops out. That locks the energy in. So it creates a pumping action, and then draw the energy up the spine. Feel this nice, warm, tingling thread of energy flowing up the spine into your heart center. Put one hand on your heart just to connect in with your heart space. Nice deep inhale. Feel this lovely warm tingling thread of energy rising up all the way into the crown of your head, cresting like a wave in the ocean, in the top of your head. Just pause at the top of the inhale. Take another sip of air in. So it's a maximal inhale breath. And now just take some time to check in, scan your mind, noticing any thoughts and emotions going on there, particularly anything that's negative, that's disturbing your peace in any way. Even a minor irritation, a little bit of frustration, just feeling a bit out of sorts. Notice all of this and just breathe into that feeling. And notice any physical sensations showing up as a result of that thought. So maybe there's just a discomfort in your stomach, maybe a knot, block in your chest, slight clenching of your jaw, clenching of your fists, dry mouth, sweaty palms, the extreme nausea and panic attacks. It can come just from your thoughts and emotions. Wherever you're on that spectrum, just notice. And breathe into any areas of discomfort. So just take a nice deep breath in to create some space, some openness, some light. Light is just awareness brought into any heavy, dark feeling. So immediately that light tends to dissipate the darkness. Maybe notice that. Now you're just going to choose to let it go. So the help of today's lesson, say my sight goes forth to look upon Christ's face or love's face. I look only upon Christ or love in the situation. Smile, and as you exhale, just blowing it all out with the breath. Just feeling the exhalation happening. Letting it all go. Blowing it all out like a black smoke out of your mouth. Pull the lower stomach into the spine. So you're completely empty. Just pause here for a few moments. Just rest in the peace and the stillness. Hold the breath briefly. And notice this Really pretty exquisite peace that comes in these little gaps between breaths. And then breathe in again. So nice deep breath in. Stomach rises, chest rises. Notice the subtle flow of air in through the nostrils. Clench the sphincter muscle. Lock the energy in, draw the energy up the spine. Feel this warm wave of energy rising up like a wave in the ocean, cresting in the crown of your head. Just pause at the top of the inhale. Smile. Just because there's underlying peace and stillness in your mind for no other reason than that you're aware, you're alive. Then exhale, just sigh it all out. This time keep your mouth closed. So you're fogging sunglasses, but with the mouth closed, the air flows out of your nostrils, chest and the stomach. Gently suck back in. And you feel that life energy that you raised up just subsiding back down the front channel of your body. It's like a wave sighing back into the ocean. It's coming to rest. Your lower stomach and spine, your attention's there for a few moments. Pause. And smile and breathe in again. So just step back and watch your breath. Bring these nice, deep, slow, rhythmical breaths. Watching all the sensations of the breath, the stomach rising, the chest rising, subtle flow of air in through the nostrils, life energy rising up the spine. Pause, smile, breathe. And then exhale, sigh it all out. Let the air flow out of your nostrils. Sighing sound in the back of your throat, a vibration in your throat, the chest and the stomach. Suck back in. So just watch all these subtle sensations of the breath. Keeping your mind very present, very still, very calm, empty, open, but aware. This practice of just watching your breath, bringing it completely into the present moment. And if you find any distracting thoughts coming in, just focus all your attention on the breath. It's the easiest way to give the mind something to focus on in the present rather than wandering off on some tangent. So as you continue watching your breath, breathing these nice, deep, slow, rhythmical patterns, just imagine that a lovely lump, heavy, warm, relaxed feeling is flowing in. You're breathing it into the crown of your head, letting it flow down the back of your head, through your face, relaxing your jaw, smoothing out any lines of tension in your face, in your jaw. A nice deep breath in, breathing it into the neck and the shoulders, and notice any tension that you're holding there. There's a lot of tension that one can hold in the neck and shoulders. And just roll the shoulders forward, roll the shoulders back, drop them down. Just letting go of any tension in your shoulders. And then this lovely lump, heavy, warm, relaxed feeling. So you exhale, just flow down from the neck and shoulders through your upper arms, through your biceps and your triceps, down through your elbows, through your forearms, down through your wrists, your hands, your fingers. So your arms are just hanging limply and heavily off your body. Feel the weight of them pressing down into your lap. Remind yourself there's really nowhere else to go, nothing else to do, nothing else to think about. Next 10 minutes or so. Just breathe, relax, be still, getting more and more relaxed with each breath. Breathing this lovely lump, heavy, warm, relaxed feeling into your fingertips. Feel it flowing up through your fingertips, into your hands, your wrists, your forearms, through your elbows, into your biceps, your triceps, your upper arms, to your neck and shoulders again. Just noticing any remaining tension there. Just breathe into it, and as you exhale, sigh it all out. And just drop the shoulders down away from the ears, roll them forward, roll them back. Feel this nice warm tingling sensation, just releasing that tension in your neck and shoulders. Letting this lovely lump, heavy, warm, relaxed feeling just seep down like warm water into your upper back, through your chest, to your middle back, down into your stomach, to your lower back. Just seeping down, warm water spreading through your buttocks, your groin, to your stomach. Like a hot water bottle in your stomach. Just feel that nice, lump, heavy, soft, warm feeling in your stomach. And just letting it flow down into your buttocks, through your hamstrings, down through your quadriceps, seeping down every pore, every cell, every muscle of your body is getting more and more relaxed. This lovely lump, heavy, warm, relaxed feeling is just seeping down, oozing down into your knees, through your shins, your calves, down through your ankles, to your feet, to the soles of your feet and the tips of your toes. So your whole body is completely lump, heavy, warm, and relaxed. Nowhere else to go, nothing else to do, nothing else to think about. The next few minutes, just sink in a little bit deeper with each breath. Keep watching your breath. As you listen to these words I'm going to share with you, this is from section 4 of the Manual for Teachers. I'm going to do a little meditation on faithfulness, which is the 8th characteristic of God's teachers, or love's teachers. So just keep watching your breath, staying nice and still, calm, empty, open, but aware, and allow these words to penetrate into your awareness on a deeper level, a heart level. So keep one hand on your heart center to anchor you into your heart space. It's not really about intellectually understanding. That's a starting point. It's more about feeling the energy and the emotions, the states of being that these words point to. If you can connect with that, then the words are truly doing their job and starting to undo the ego's thought system, which is quite deeply entrenched in our minds. So you keep watching your breath to remain nice and calm, still, empty, open, but aware. Just listen with your heart to these words on faithfulness from Jesus, our master teacher. So he says the extent of the teacher of God's faithfulness. And you can always change the word God to the word love. Extent of the teacher of love's faithfulness. Here's the measure of his advancement in the curriculum. Does he still select some aspects of his life to bring to his learning, while keeping others apart? If so, his advancement is limited, and his trust not yet firmly established. Faithfulness is the teacher of God's trust, love's trust in the Word of God, in the Word of this eternal loving presence we call God, to set all things right. Not some, but all. Generally, as faithfulness begins by resting on just some problems, remaining carefully limited for a time. To give up all problems to one answer is to reverse the thinking of the world entirely. And that alone is faithfulness. Nothing but that really deserves the name. Yet each degree, however small, is worth achieving. Readiness, as the text notes, is not mastery. So just pause, reflect on that, allow these profound ideas to sink in to a deeper part of your mind. Keep watching your breath. So faithfulness is the measure of your progress back to God. Can you give all things to God, all problems? To give up all problems to one answer is to reverse the thinking of the world entirely. There are no problems in all perfect oneness. And that alone is faithfulness. Nothing but that really deserves the name. This is the atonement or the at-one-ment, the giving up of all problems of separation, time and space that seem to preoccupy our minds in this world. The willingness to relinquish all of that to one answer, to reverse the thinking of the world entirely, to become at one again with our source. So to whatever extent you can do that now, just do that. Breathe in, nice deep breath in, and just look at any problems that you think you have. Particularly anything that you keep apart from this one answer, the solution. Maybe there's financial issues, money worries, relationship problems, health problems. Just notice how your mind maybe still perceives problems in these areas. It's not willing to relinquish its hold on these problems. Because as Jesus says, this is not a partial faithfulness. It's trust in the Word of God, the Word of His eternal loving presence, to set all things right. Not some, but all. And so as you exhale, just have a sense of releasing that problem and really your attachment to or your investment in the problem. Just letting it all go with the help of the breath, blowing it away like a black cloud. And there's no real power to obscure the eternal sky, eternally serene sky, which is your true awareness. So blow it all away and sink into the oneness that is the answer. Remember, these problems are only designed by the ego to keep your mind preoccupied in time and space, to keep your mind away from the one answer that is God, perfect love, perfect oneness. But true faithfulness, however, does not deviate. Being consistent, it is wholly honest. Being unswerving, it is full of trust. Being based on fearlessness, it is gentle. Being certain, it is joyous. And being confident, it is tolerant. Faithfulness then combines in itself the other attributes of God's teachers. There are 10 of them, according to this section on the characteristics of God's teachers. So this implies acceptance of the Word of God, the Word of love, and His definition of His Son, love's definition of itself, its own extension. God is the loving presence of source of our mind. Son of God is the extension of that loving presence of source, which is our mind in truth. It is to them, to God and His extension of His Son, that faithfulness in the true sense is always directed. Toward them it looks, seeking until it finds. Defenselessness attends it naturally, and joy is its condition. These were other attributes of God's teachers, defenselessness and joy. And having found, it rests in quiet certainty on that alone, to which all faithfulness is due. And so just sink into that quiet certainty on which all faithfulness rests. As a part of your mind, state of being, in which you completely understand, you completely know these words are true, where there is no doubt or fear or uncertainty. It's complete certainty, clarity, and peace of mind come with this awareness. So sink into that. Sink into this faithfulness. It comes from trust in oneness, in the eternal infinite power of love to make all things right. Step back, watch your breath as you do this. Keep your mind nice and still, calm, empty, open, but aware. You sink in a little bit deeper with each breath, sinking deeper and deeper into this place of true certainty, quiet certainty. On that alone, faithfulness rests. So feel that in your heart, feel it in your mind, your entire being. And just for the next 2 minutes of silence, sink into it. There's nothing else to do, there's nowhere else to go. There's nothing else to think about. Just breathe, relax, and be still for the next 2 minutes of silence. And if any thoughts arise to seeming to disturb this quiet certainty, any thoughts at all, there's no need to think in this quiet certainty. Just notice them. Imagine they're like dark clouds just blowing away across the sky. Just blow them away with the wind of your breath. Sigh it all out. Return your attention to the breath and to this eternally serene sky. Quiet certainty within. For another minute of silence. And so just gently coming back into an awareness of the body and the world. On the count of 3, you're going to open your eyes. So breathing in. So 1, just noticing the stomach rising, the chest rising, subtle flow of air in through the nostrils. Life energy rising up the spine, subtle clenching of the sphincter muscle. Smile at the top of the inhale. Just feel the peace and the stillness arising. And then you exhale, just sighing it all out. Letting it all go. Letting the air flow out of your nostrils, chest and the stomach. Suck back in. Energy subsides back down the front channel of your body. Coming to rest in your lower stomach and your groin. So 2, while your attention is down there, noticing the weight of your body pressing down into the chair. Your feet touching the ground. As you breathe in again, noticing maybe there's a subtle smell in your nose, a taste in your mouth. And notice what you're hearing. The surrounding environment, but without any judgment. So there's no need to name or judge or label or interpret anything you hear. Just allow the sounds to arise and when they subside. So what you start paying more attention to is the ground of being, the background of your awareness, which is permanent, constant. That's the domain of certainty, rather than the shifting, changing domain of sense perceptions and all your mental judgments and interpretations about them. And so 3, just gently open your eyes, look around. Take a minute just to look around the room. Just reorienting yourself back into this reality, seeming reality. And just apply the same non-judgmental principle to whatever it is that you see. So let your eyes rest randomly on various objects, just for a couple of seconds on each one, and then move to something else. And then again, something else. Do that for half a dozen things without any judgment. So there's no need to name or judge or label or interpret any of it. And so as a practice for the rest of the afternoon, just allow your mind to stay rooted in your breathing. So those in the session, just keep watching your breath. Keep some attention on your breath as you listen to and participate in the discussion session, and that will keep your mind in this nice, still, calm, empty, non-judgmental place, which is the best state of mind to receive. It's only an empty vessel can receive. If your mind is busy with lots of thoughts, then you simply can't receive anything else. So thank you for listening. For those on the WhatsApp group, I'm going to bid you farewell. Hope you have a very nice afternoon, and can catch the recording of the session tomorrow. I'll send you a link. Or join us now if you want to. You know how to log in. And for those on YouTube, stick around. We're going to have a discussion session on the characteristics of God's teachers. Okay.
No, I'm telling you, if I don't have a rest during the day, I'm gone.
Did you fall asleep?
I don't sleep at night.
Well, that's okay. Meditation is...
I was in and out. I heard not what you did say.
Well, if you need sleep in meditation, then that's what will happen. It's fine. There's no wrong or right way to meditate. You know, every
end this pain.
Okay, well, let's discuss it. So, should we do a little expression session? So, just to remind you of how that works, just express whatever's on your mind. Just be very present. Say, I'm feeling like this. I'm feeling whatever I'm feeling about whatever. And there's no commentary from anyone else. Just listening. If we discuss any of the themes brought up, we'll do it a bit later in the discussion session. So, Hazel, if you want to open the door, you can.
No.
Yeah.
You might want to go. I don't know.
Yeah, you might. Just there's a hook behind there. You can. Okay, Karen, you still with us? Do you want to do a little check-in? Anything arising? Okay. Anything you want to express?
That was very grounding. It was very peaceful. Very awesome message. And I think just a beautiful half an hour to just come down to earth, really. Yeah, I mean, it was 100 different things all happening at once in the last week. I mean, scuba diving the whole of Saturday, Sunday, business trip Monday, Tuesday, selling out of new product launch Wednesday, preparing for launches Thursday, Friday, and then just rushing and doing scuba diving exams up until a few minutes before we started. So sort of just stretching in so many different directions. And yeah, I mean, a huge part of my journey should actually be the meditation and, acknowledging emotions and things like that. So I think I got the proportion in my life all wrong. Time to get it right. It should be more of meditation and doing this kind of work and less of the running around. So that's me. Thank you.
Thanks for sharing that. We'll discuss some of those themes.
Awesome. Thank you.
A bit later. Hazel, want to share anything? Okay. All right, well, I'll share maybe afterwards if you feel like. You said something about your pain, so. So yeah, I'm feeling pretty good. Had a couple of little forgiveness opportunities today, so it's always good to notice them. First of all, when I was coming out of the drive here, I kind of scraped my mother's car slightly on a pole because I had to reverse. Unusually, there was a car parked in the normal place. I just noticed myself getting irritated, going, I was like, okay, just notice it, step back, breathe, pause. And then the session we were supposed to have it at Patricia's house today, and she phoned at about 1:20 and just cancelled. And there was a temptation to go, well, why didn't you let us know, an hour ago? And Hazel had just driven over. But it was fine. I just kind of noticed those things and then just kind of let them go and went, okay, just flow with it. And I just listened to, spirit, and here we are doing a session anyway. So it's all good. I think what I love about the course is Jesus is not saying you're never going to get tested. In fact, quite the opposite. He's saying you're going to get tested all the time. But it's just how you deal with it and how quickly you can recognize it and then, let go of that negativity, let go of the irritation or frustration or anger or in whatever way it manifests. And often it's irritation. It's little niggles. And just being consciously aware of those as they arise. So yeah, it was good. Good practice this morning. Oh, and I had a little bit of a tummy upset. I ate something 2 days ago, so there was another little forgiveness opportunity. So, okay, it's just the body, doesn't matter. Not feeling so great, but the mind is still fine. And you notice, see your chat. You notice the tendency of the ego to want to like make more of a situation. I see you said another disappearance of the universe. So I was supposed to get the disappearance of the universe for you today, and it didn't happen. So who knows? Trisha said we'll do a session in 2 weeks, so maybe not. Oh, anyway, that's me. Hazel, anything coming to you?
This business of actually you had a feeling might not happen. But that's like with a friend of mine. Every time I make language see it, something happens. And she's a really nice person, but it's someone else, another girl, she's actually good. She's a writer, she writes from home. I don't know whether she just got totally preoccupied with this guy that she obviously likes. He's also from England. But I'm a very good friend of hers. And I was at lunch at the centre. She just walked off with him to give him something in the car. No goodbye or anything.
Okay.
I walked up behind them, and when I got to my car, the car was parked in the next lot. I kind of yelled out, bye. But I don't know if she heard me. No, he did, but she didn't.
Yeah.
She just got in and drove off. And I'm a good friend of hers. How can you just not say goodbye? I'm sorry.
Okay. So what did you feel in that situation?
I'm still trying to think about it. You know what?
What did you feel immediately? Did you feel angry? Did you feel upset?
Yeah, I
Did you
did.
feel hurt?
I did. Yeah, I just felt hurt.
Okay.
I mean, it's not that we kind of, we're quite good friends. So, in fact, I hate to say it, but this guy, he is widowed, taking another woman out from the centre, which is a total mismatch. And I'm going to quote someone else. She's far better than him. What she sees in him, I don't know. He's very pleasant and helpful, but what she sees in him, I really don't, except that he's British and she's British.
Okay, so focus on your own feelings, Hazel. It's not really about what's happening.
I just thought I couldn't believe when she just walked off, didn't say goodbye.
Okay.
I thought, well, perhaps she's coming back in, but she didn't. And I followed them anyway. I didn't interrupt them, but she still didn't say goodbye.
Okay.
Jonathan, my issue is a rejection. We found that out last year when we were at Patricia. We had a very good session in the autumn where we each found out what our issue is. Mine is that. And that's what I feel. But I automatically feel that she's abandoned me, which is ridiculous, but she hasn't phoned me since. And also this other woman, every time we make an arrangement, something happens. So what do I think? She's abandoned me.
Can you see how that's...
I can see my issues.
Yeah.
So I say something. This Debbie who gave me the words. You make that person innocent, and you say to the Holy Spirit, my feelings of anger, resentment, rejection, abandonment, whatever, come from a belief I have of myself. So please, Holy Spirit, take it away from me. And I've said that, especially with my son overseas. Yesterday, well, the day before, but I had him on my mind yesterday. He lives in Berlin now, although he met his wife in England. and she wanted to go to Berlin to be near her mother in Poland, 2 hours away. The mother has since retired and living with them. But he is very resentful of the fact that he has to pay me a small amount, and it certainly isn't much from Berlin every 2 months. My sons alternate because their father was an alcoholic. Now, what they don't remember is his present wife somehow got him off the alcoholism. And I've recently met him. What a nice guy. I feel like I'm leaving out now. But whatever. It's not the point. The point is that he came to see me, and he didn't know this was going on, because every Sunday my son overseas contacts him. He won't even answer the phone to talk to me because he's resentful of having to pay the small amount. It's not a big amount, I can tell you.
The focus on how does it make you feel?
Abandoned.
Okay.
So I've got to keep on saying this.
You do.
You've got to chip away at it all the time. I don't see any results. That's the only thing.
Well, do you feel better when you do that?
I feel I've done something positive. Just appealing to the Holy Spirit, please take this away. Because I'm tired of feeling like this. It's horrible. Don't know where this came from. Don't think it's this life. I think it's a previous life. I really do. And especially hurts me with my son. The thing is, we were very, very close. I've got the 2 sons, the one here, one in Berlin. The one here is the one who's put himself out for me and got it organized. But I mean, when he initially found my son overseas, he told me later that he was so rude about my son overseas that he actually put the phone down there. And I didn't dream of asking what he said, but it must have been bad. And then, but now he's told my ex-husband, because he came back to me. I've seen, they don't know I've seen their father. So he did offer to help me. And he's changed to this degree that when I say, you were in and out of jobs when I was married to you, but I'm the one who kept things going. I worked throughout. But my boys were too young to know that. And he didn't say anything. I was waiting for a kind of reaction. No reaction. He knows. He knows. That's how wonderful he is now. He's changed totally. Not that I'm getting the benefit, but anyway. Yeah, apparently we should have organized ourselves better and not have to ask them for money. That's what's come out of this whole thing. So now, and I should be working. Sorry. I should be working. I'm nearly 80 and I should be working. Everyone just laughs.
Okay.
Well, I'm trying to make a bit of money making 11 quid. I made 300 grand last month, which actually pulled me through, otherwise I wouldn't have come out.
You're doing what you can.
Yeah, I'm doing what I can. It's too late, especially in this country, to go back into doing anything in the office or to do with the office.
No, it's not a realistic expectation.
No.
But there's a number of things. Have you finished expressing?
Well, I was just going to say, like
he
he sent through a lovely picture of his daughter, who doesn't even know me. His daughter overseas hardly knows me. And apparently my other granddaughter here said, "Oh, what a lovely jacket you've got on," and this and that. So he sent the message back, the father saying, "I'll let Sarah know when she comes back from such and such a place. Don't know where it is. Didn't know she'd gone away." And so I said, I thought, let me just add something to know, just to acknowledge it. I said, gosh, it is a lovely coat she's wearing. Where is such and such a place? Nothing. You want to know how hurtful that is? He won't talk to me. He won't even answer. The only thing my son will do, like in September, was his wedding anniversary as well as his birthday. And then he said, thank you. He acknowledged that.
Oh, so have you finished?
I'm finished now. Sorry. Yeah.
No, that's fine. So there's a number of themes there which you can discuss.
We'll take the picture there.
Yeah. So you asked said, where does it come from?
Sorry.
You asked, where does it come from?
Where does it originate? My issue, yeah.
Where did it originate? Well, that is a very deep metaphysical question, because actually where it originated from is the separation. It comes from the separation, isn't it? Ultimately,
Yeah.
that
Yeah,
other lives. Remember, we're in a dream here, so your other lives are dreams. Yeah, well, I want to go through that briefly. Your other lives are dreams. The ultimate origin of it is the separation, and how that came about. And you got to understand that rejection program, that feeling rejected and abandoned is the ego's core. It's a fundamental belief of the ego. Well, I've been rejected and abandoned by God, by love, which of course is not true. It's just because the ego wants its own identity. So then the ego said, I don't want love anymore. The ego rejects love and abandons love, but then feels rejected and abandoned.
Yeah.
That's how it works.
Okay.
And so now any of these,
street, kind of.
yeah, so the setup is the ego wants you to believe that you've been rejected and abandoned by someone or something external to you in this world. But actually, at the very core of it, the responsibility is yours. Because we all, at some point, in order to create this mad place and come into an illusion where we apparently separate and lead these separate lives, we had to have gone, no, I don't want love. I don't want perfect oneness anymore.
This is crazy.
Well, Jesus calls it the tiny mad idea. It is crazy.
Not so small.
Well, it still is small. That's what the Course is saying. It's still just a tiny mad idea, except that tiny mad idea has now been blown up into seemingly a massive idea, because it's got all these apparent consequences. So I'm just going to share my screen with you, Karen. Can you see that? Let's ask you to unmute.
Perfectly, thank you.
Yeah, good. So this is just a little diagram which kind of explains this whole thing. So where did this all come from? Because that's ultimately where all these questions lead to. You can go, it's a past life, but then you're not going far back enough. Yes, something arose in a past life, but where did that then come from in the past life? Where does this idea of rejection and abandonment and all the ego's Pandora's box of negativity, that really is what the ego is, where does that all come from? And the Course gives an explanation. It's the only explanation. If you really think logically, it's the only explanation there really is, which most spiritual teachings and religions miss. This idea that it's a decision in the mind. So I'll just go through the diagram. So there's, in the blue circle, there's this oneness or God or love. It can be called many things: beingness, truth, Brahman, they call it in the East. It doesn't really matter what you call it. It's really just an idea of perfect oneness. It's a state of mind that is perfectly one. There is nothing else. That's what it wouldn't be perfect oneness if there was anything else. And what the Course is saying, and all true spiritual teachings rest on that foundation, that really only this perfect oneness is real. Only this is true. So then the question comes, well, then how on earth did we get here? How did this world and this universe arise? And so this explains it. So I've called it the descent into hell. So there was a thought of separation. Some point in perfect oneness, a tiny mad idea arose in the mind It was perfectly one before. And this mind went, huh, well, what if I wasn't perfectly one? How would that be? And that tiny mad idea was the thought of separation. It's the beginning of this whole descent into hell. Now, the problem was that we believed that idea. We wanted to believe that idea. That's really where the issue came in. So if we just gone, oh, that's just a ridiculous idea. How could perfect oneness ever be separate, and dismissed the idea and gone back to perfect oneness, then all would have been fine. But something in our minds was curious and went, oh, well, we've had perfect oneness for all eternity. So this is something different. This is a change. And maybe this will be better. And in the believing of this idea was born the ego. The Course calls the ego. The ego means I am in Latin. So it's a sense of a separate self. So it's been called other things. It's been called the universal mind in the Gnostic tradition, Satan, the devil. For the Course's purposes, though, we just call it the ego. It's the sense of a separate self that now has a separate identity, has its own separate will, apparently separate from oneness or God or love, that can think its own thoughts, has this individual identity. So the next sort of step down the ladder is the descent into individuality. So at the highest level, the ego is one thought of separation from love. But now that thought leads to a further splintering of the mind. Now the mind wants to individuate and become even more individual. So it's not good enough to be one ego. There now has to be a multiplicity of egos, because separation leads to more separation. So individuality is this idea of, first of all, you in division. Okay, so the root of the word individuality is you in division, divi, and duality. Dual means two. So you're in a split of two now. You're now in two minds. Your mind is seemingly split from one mind into two. And you now have a separate identity. Apparently, that's where this separate identity named, which is just an acronym for sin, where that comes in. So the separate identity named becomes, and sin becomes the underpinning of the ego's false identity. Can you see that? And if you have any questions, Karen or Hazel, just fire away. Make this interactive. You're good. So it's really important to understand the metaphysics, because then you start that question of, well, where did the rejection come from? The rejection ultimately came from your own decision to separate. When you understand that, then you can take responsibility for it. Then instead of projecting that responsibility onto someone else. So what we do in this world is we go, oh, well, it's my son's fault. Right? My son's being nasty to me, or the woman in the parking lot isn't being loving. And then I feel that hurt. I feel that rejection, that abandonment, which is what the ego wants you to feel. It wants you to feel rejected and abandoned, because those thoughts and emotions keep it alive. That's all it's made up of. And so it's continuously creating and trying to recreate situations in this world that seemingly cause you to feel those feelings. Do you see that? It's a setup. Because if you're not feeling those feelings, then the only alternative is love. And in perfect love, in perfect oneness, the ego ceases to exist. Feelings of rejection and abandonment simply don't exist in perfect oneness.
So if I keep on asking the Holy Spirit to do away with this thought system, will it ever work in this lifetime?
Well, yes and no. I mean, asking the Holy Spirit for help is a good start, because it's saying, okay, there's another part of my mind that can do this, right? But the problem is if you still project that out and you say the Holy Spirit's something separate from me, then that's not really going to help you. Do you see that? Because it's in your mind. It's not some external force. You know, we use these terms. We've got the Holy Spirit and the ego, and they seem to be separate. They're not. These are aspects of your mind. So the Holy Spirit is the idea in your mind that you are still one. You're still love. You're still one. You're still one with God. You're still loved and beloved. And therefore, everything else is just illusion. Everything else is mad. It's a mad dream that we made up. And the Holy Spirit knows that. So it's really going into that place in your mind and saying, okay, from this place of perfect faithfulness, as we just meditated on, faith in perfect oneness, that's still there. It's never gone away. I now look from that perspective on whatever's happening in this world. And I'm able to bring it to the truth and let go of my illusions, let go of the hurt, because the hurt is in my own mind. I'm creating it for myself. Every time you feel the rejection and the abandonment, you just reinforce the ego. You keep that pattern of deception. It's self-deception, really, because I've abandoned God. I've made the decision willingly, going, I don't want to be one with God anymore. I want my own identity. And now I'm facing the consequences of that, which is feeling rejected and abandoned. And then I go, oh, it's not my responsibility. Something or someone else is making me feel rejected and abandoned, which keeps the thought system in place, because until you take responsibility for it, you can't let it go, can you? If something else is always causing you to feel rejected and abandoned, then how can you let it go? But if you claim the responsibility, say, okay, I did this. I once upon a time decided, and we've forgotten. This has now gone out of our minds. We've forgotten that we desired to have a separate identity. We wanted it. And so we made it real for ourselves.
What's the best method of reversing that?
Well, you can use the 10-step forgiveness process I've given you. That's
Yeah, I often do you one on the computer as well.
You can use Ho'oponopono. Anything that's letting go, right? All these methods are just ways of letting go of your mind's attachment to the situation, and therefore all of the thoughts and emotions that come.
Well, obviously I'm not letting go, because ever since 2017, when my son here, was followed my son, I did a lengthy one, not just the short one. So, and nothing happened. So
Well,
I don't do that one anymore.
You got to understand, Hazel, that it's very deep seated. Now, this goes to the very core of who you believe you are as Hazel, and that's why it's difficult, because your self-identity, your self-concept, the ego self-concept, is completely wrapped up with this idea of feeling rejected and abandoned. Because who would Hazel be if you weren't rejected and abandoned? That's your story. You see, it gives you an identity in this world. And so it's very hard for us to just look at that and go, that's just illusion, because you basically saying my whole life's an illusion. All these experiences, all these hurtful things, it's all illusion. It's all been made up by the ego to give me a separate identity of Hazel in this world, to set me up for all this rejection, abandonment, all this pain I've experienced as a result, over and over. And I have to be willing to undo my self-concept. I'm not Hazel. I'm not really Hazel. And so none of these stories are true. Story of my son abandoning me, story of any kind of rejection or abandonment of Hazel. If I'm not Hazel, then how can I have been rejected and abandoned? Do you see? It's only because you invested in the illusion of a separate self that you can feel hurt at all. Do you see that? There was no investment in I'm Hazel, then who's there to feel rejected and abandoned in these situations? And so that's ultimately where you got to go to. You know, all the forgiveness techniques are pointing you to a place in your mind where you are one again, where there's just perfect love, where there is no separate self-concept. There's no Hazel anymore.
So then I will have to have awoken to experience that.
Well, it's a process. It's a process. So as he said, perfect faithfulness is just giving everything to God, just giving everything to the one answer of the atonement, of oneness. But he says each small step is worth making. So every situation that arises, that triggers your program, that you feel the rejection, abandonment, welcome it and go, okay, it's another chance to look at it, to feel it, to recognize what this is, and then to go, I don't have to feel this way. I can let these feelings go, because ultimately they're illusory. This is false. This is based on a false idea of a separate me, a separate self, which now seemingly can be rejected and abandoned by all these other false characters wandering around in the dream and the special relationships that the ego has constructed, precisely to keep us locked in to the idea of a separate identity. Can you see that's what it's doing? So you think you're a mother of your son, and you were very close, right? So that whole story is real in your mind. Now he turns around and goes, no, actually, I don't want to be close anymore, and I'm not going to communicate with you. I'm going to be quite offish, even rude. And then you take it personally, because you're taking it from Hazel's perspective. Hazel, the mother, shouldn't be treated this way. This isn't fair. This isn't right. And you tell yourself the story. Do you see that? But actually, it's a setup. That whole story of Hazel is what's causing you pain. It's not your son or anyone else. It's your investment in the story that he's part of. That's your whole life history. Can you see that? And so it's just recognizing that that's what's happening. If every situation that triggers your upset, you can feel that and go, okay, I understand why I'm experiencing this. And I understand this is the story of Hazel coming again. And the ego, which is Hazel in your mind, this false idea of who you are, this personality self, wants you to go there. You know it does. It wants you to feel abandoned and rejected. It wants you to feel hurt and upset. Because it keeps it alive, doesn't it? It keeps the story of Hazel going. And that's where the course is going. You have to be willing to go there and say, okay, I'm willing to collapse the story of Hazel. The story of Hazel is not true. And the story of Hazel causes this false entity of Hazel a lot of trouble, a lot of problems, a lot of pain, a lot of suffering comes from the story of Hazel, doesn't it?
Yeah, well, last night I had the ultimate nightmare, because I've been told that I'm looking at myself. But I actually watched a man my age being garroted. It was ghastly. Never had anything like that in my life.
In your dream?
Yeah.
Okay.
Was that? So,
okay, so whatever the dream was, and this is quite useful to remember, that dream of garroting and all the pain and the murder and attack, this is the dream of separation. This is what the ego's done. As long as you believe in the story of Hazel, you're believing in that. Jesus makes no bones about it.
yeah.
You're believing in the story of death, attack, and murder. And if you saw it in a dream, that's pretty helpful. Because you go, okay, that's what it is. I've seen it. And then you woke up and the dream is gone. So where was it? It was experienced in your mind. So what Jesus is saying is this is like another dream. It's just a seemingly more real dream, still experienced in our mind. Everything we experience here is in our mind. It's just everything seems to be real. We can now see, feel, touch, taste. We've got 5 physical senses. The world appears to be real. The characters in the dream seem to be real. And yet it's not. So what the Course is saying, it's a projection of this mind that's gone insane. It's decided it wants to be separate from love. That's what created the world, not God. That's what created all the misery and the pain and the suffering. And as long as you want to keep believing in the story of your separate self, you buy into the whole thing. There's no escape in the separate self. You will keep returning over and over and over again. Hence, reincarnation. We come back in different bodies. The mind just keeps recycling itself. back into the dream, back into the illusion, to keep experiencing separation, because that's what it wants. Until you change your mind, until you come to a teaching like this and you go, okay, I'm willing to accept this teaching and I'm willing to apply this in my life. I'm willing to apply this to all the situations that show up in my life to find peace instead of get upset, to return my mind slowly but surely to oneness.
I'm going to say, well, I at least get peace, which I haven't so far, and although I've been doing all this before I even reach oneness again.
Yeah, every step you take on the journey brings you more peace. If you're really forgiving and you're really letting go of these false beliefs, then you find more and more peace arising. And I'm not saying it's an easy journey. There are many difficulties. It's painful to start with because you've got to look at the story of Hazel and go, okay, I made it up. This is my own miscreation. I see what I've done and I see how much pain I've caused myself. But at least you're taking ownership now. So as long as it's someone else's fault, there's no hope. It's your son's fault. It's the friend's fault. Well, then you're just a victim, aren't you? Which is the ego's self-concept. You're the victim of this seemingly cruel external world that's doing all these things to you and seemingly hurting you. When in fact, actually, it's a setup. You set yourself up to be the victim. So you're not really the victim, man, if you realize that. You can always correct your mind and say, no, I'm not the victim. I made up the whole story. And so why am I getting upset? He's not really even my son. He's not my son. Because he's not real. Hazel's not real. The biological relationships we've created here, the special relationships, are not really real. So why am I getting upset over nothing? And, every time it arises, if you just go through that thought process, use the Ho'oponopono, use the 10-step letting go process, because it's all in there. As you're doing this, as you let go of the thoughts and of the emotions that it causes you, you're cleaning your mind. You're saying, okay, I'm willing to let this go. I don't want to feel this anymore. I'm willing to drop the pain.
If I had done that last night instead of the mornings like I usually do, perhaps I wouldn't have had that awful dream.
Maybe. But, it was what it was. It was showing you something. That's a dream. That's the dream of death, attack, and murder. Jesus is very clear. He says your dream of separation is nothing more than a dream of death, attack, and murder. That's what it is. And until you're willing to really see it for what it is, you won't change your mind. So, the Course can be quite harsh in some ways because he's saying, look, this is what it is, and you need to see it. Because if we don't see it, then we keep trying to make the dream of death, attack, and murder work.
Yeah.
We keep coming back here over and I'll try another life. I'll try another body, another incarnation, another time, another place, another situation, other special relationships.
Yeah.
And those are going to work. And the truth is they're not going to work. What he's saying is the only thing that's going to work is oneness, is perfect oneness. Nothing else is ever going to work. Until we're willing to see that and return our minds to that, we're stuck in this dream of separation. We're stuck in time and space, in a place where there's really no hope. You'll never fix the dream within the dream of time and space, within the dream of the ego.
Yeah.
Because it is by definition dysfunctional. It's by definition the opposite of God. It's the opposite of love. So how can you ever make the opposite of love love? You can't. You can only recognize it for what it is and return your mind to love. So to continue the story, okay, Karen, you still with us? Okay, don't know. Lost it, I unmuted. So as you go down the ladder, so from the individuality and the separate identity names, you now have this idea of guilt and sin. Right? We have the idea of guilt for the apparent sin. And sin is just an error, but it's an error made real. Now this is permanent. This is eternal. This is not something that's undoable in the ego's judgment. And so you're eternally guilty for it. You're permanently guilty for this terrible sin of destroying oneness, or God, or love, however you want to put it. And this is the ultimate original sin. This is what we think we've done. I've destroyed oneness. I've actually managed to destroy God. This is the ego's delusion. Truth is, you haven't. You can't destroy what is
Creative.
what is eternal. You
Yeah.
can't. It's impossible. Nothing real can be threatened.
How did the ego start? That's what I want to know.
It's a tiny mad idea. And a tiny mad idea was never real. So by asking, how did the ego start? You make the ego real. Do you see that? By questioning and saying, okay, well, how did this start? The truth is, it never really happened. And this is what the Course is saying. That tiny mad idea will always remain a tiny mad idea. It doesn't matter what consequences it seems not to have had in this whole made-up dream. It's still just a dream. It's still just illusory. A tiny mad idea is just that. It has no reality. And that's what over and over he's trying to drum into us. It has no reality. It's like, so whatever you experience as a result of all of this, so you come down the ladder of separation, you're now experiencing guilt and sin, and fear is a natural consequence of that. You experience the guilt and the sin. Well, the next thing is the ego says, oh, now you've done this terrible thing. You're guilty and you deserve to be punished. That's the consequence of guilt. You deserve to be punished, and now you project that idea out onto some false God, and you go, oh, well, God's going to punish me. That's not what God is at all. Perfect love has no idea of punishment. These ideas don't even exist in God. So this is all just a made-up, fictitious, false God that the ego creates. This is the God of the Old Testament, the wrathful, vengeful.
I was just going to say, it's terrible how this is in religion, especially Christianity.
Well, because the ego is very persistent, and this thought system is what's made the universe, and it doesn't want to let go, and so it will come and it tries to hijack every authentic spiritual teaching, and make it into something where guilt and fear and sin appear to have reality. Because without guilt, fear, and sin, the ego is finished. That's it. Game over. No more guilt, no more fear, no more sin, no more individuality, no more specialness, no more separate identity, no more separation. Oh, we'll be back in perfect oneness.
Does Hinduism also believe in the same things as Christianity? Or more like that?
Well, Hinduism came ultimately from Advaita Vedanta, which is the knowledge of not two. It's non-dual. So Advaita Vedanta is saying pretty much what the Course is saying. Right? There's only one. There's one source. There's one Brahman, they call it. One ultimate, absolute, infinite reality. And then there's apparently an ego. There's apparently some kind of separation. They don't explain it quite as well as the Course in terms of this idea of sin and guilt and fear and how we descended down the ladder. So as these thoughts and these feelings arise, we go down. We descend down a ladder from oneness into a state of separation in our minds. This is all still metaphysical at this stage. But what then happens is the ego can't stand this overwhelming guilt and sin and this fear of punishment. And so it makes up another world. And the ego says, this is terrifying. This is horrifying. Follow me and we'll go somewhere together and I'll keep you safe. And so it makes up this alternate reality. And because the mind is so powerful, it projects all this out and it makes up a dream of time and space and of form. And now it hurls the mind now is apparently projected into bodies, into forms, where it's apparently separate, fragmented, different, unique, special. Each one has its individual identity. And now it can play out this dream of separation in all these different forms. And they all interact with each other. And there's all these special relationships going on. And there's all this separation and conflict, pain and suffering. And these ideas of sin, guilt, and fear keep showing up in the dream. Because that's the underlying thought system that created the whole dream.
I don't know, how did Christianity get so bored up? I suppose the ego by then had a whole, because I mean, isn't this why Jesus is coming back to rectify things?
Well, what happens is people don't really understand this, and the ego doesn't want to understand this. And so what the ego is always trying to do is it'll take truth and it'll try and distort it, and it'll go, actually, we don't want perfect truth because that's going to undo the ego. So now we introduce some lies into it. We introduce the ideas of sin and guilt and fear, and now the ego's in charge. The ego's in business again, because it doesn't really want you to escape. It doesn't want you to be free of it, because it ceases to exist. If you really let it go, then there's no ego. No ego, no world. The whole illusion disappears.
Where did, I keep quoting Christianity because I don't know the other religions so well. Where did they get this idea that God is a God of judgment? Because, funny enough, I've been reading up on the Egyptian thing. It's exactly the same. When you go to the afterworld, your heart gets weighed against the feather. And,
well, where do you think, based on what I've explained, where do you think that idea of judgment comes from?
It's supposed to be ego again.
If you feel like you're guilty and you're sinful, then judgment is inherent in that. You've done something wrong. So inherent in guilt and sin is, oh, I've actually done this, and now I deserve to be punished for this. There's the judgment. By some illusory, I make up a God. I make up a false God, which is apparently going to punish me, when actually it's just in my own mind. It's an idea, right? So that's where the Course is going. It's saying all of this is just an idea. It's an idea in the mind, an idea of separation, which led to all these pretty horrendous consequences. But it's still just an idea, which is not true. So if it's not true, then it can be undone. I don't have to believe in it, and I don't have to believe in any of its consequences, which means none of what came from the separation, this big bang, right? So the Course explains, and it dovetails with the theory of the Big Bang. Okay, so there was this massive explosion of energy which birthed the universe. The cosmologists seem to have been, okay, so that's how this place came into existence. But they cannot tell you. They'll tell you what happened after the Big Bang, how the universe unfolded, but they can't tell you why. Because that's not a scientific question. That's a philosophical question. And that is the question. Well, why then? Why was the universe birthed? And it makes scientists very uneasy, because then they're out of the domain of how, an explanation of how. Now you're in metaphysics, you're in philosophy. Why? And Jesus explains why. Saying, well, why we did this was because we had this overwhelming guilt and sense of sin, and this fear of punishment that we now projected onto some illusion of God. And the ego says, run away, go away, disappear. You can't go, you can't stick around in oneness. God is going to destroy you. So come with me. We'll make up a separate place where I'm in charge and you'll be safe from love. And so we make up an illusion of a separate self and a separate body and a separate world where that separate self and separate body can live and apparently be safe from love. Safe from love, except that as we live here, we go, this place is anything but safe.
It's anything but love, yeah.
Anything but love, anything but safe. We're guaranteed to suffer and to die. Human life, that's the human condition. Is, birth, suffering, some experiences in between, which you might go, can bring you some pleasure. But by and large, the human condition is suffering. More than anything else, that seems to be what defines it. And then ultimately we die. So then what the hell was the point? You have this life, you struggle, you suffer, you die, and then, now you're going to come back and you're going to do it all over again in another life, if you believe in reincarnation. So what's the point? And Jesus is going, there is no point, guys. There is no point. The only point was to be separate from love. That's the ego's point. And there's no validity to it. It's a tiny mad idea. It's insane. So your whole dream is insane. And the only way out of it is to let go of the whole dream.
So even in the so-called afterlife, you're still going to think this way, because now you're going to reincarnate.
Unless you've corrected your mind. If those ideas of sin and guilt and fear have not been corrected, then guess what? You'll come back. Because you come back, if you believe you're sinful and you're guilty and you deserve to be punished, you come back into a human body and you create another life where apparently you seem to be a victim. Where apparently there's all these things, people, places, and events that are outside of you that can now hurt you. Because you still got those ideas in your mind. You still think that this is real and that you deserve to be punished. And unless you've done your work and you've done your forgiveness and you've really corrected that belief, you come back because there's nowhere else to go. You're either in oneness or you're in the ego, and this is the ego's home. This is the ego's reality.
So if I
Those are the two alternatives.
Forgiveness every time something comes up until I die, it doesn't mean to say that's going to be the end of it, is it?
Depends how well you do your forgiveness.
Unless you reach.
Like if you're really okay with it, you go like, actually, I see it. It's a joke. This idea that I was Hazel and all this pain and rejection and abandonment that I felt in this whole story, it's a joke. It's ridiculous. And I'm just not going to buy it anymore. I'm not going to believe that story, because how can I, if I'm perfect oneness, this perfect eternal one being, how can I be Hazel? I can't. It's impossible. With all this drama and the story and be the victim and I'm getting old and I've got this pain and I'm suffering and I'm going to die. How can I? It's impossible. This is an impossible dream that simply has no ultimate reality.
I just think of my dear parents and my aunts and uncles and all that who've gone before me, never had the opportunity to learn this.
Well, they'll have another opportunity. Everyone, Jesus is saying, the destiny of every soul, every separated mind, is to atone, is to become one again with Source. And that, in the dream of time and space, is going to take a very, very long time. But it doesn't have to take long for you. That's the beauty of the Course. He's saying, look, you can correct your mind in an instant, because it's just a change of mind. Practically speaking, it's probably going to take you the rest of your life, and you're going to keep getting challenges and stuff coming up. But you can do this work. If you really learn the Course, you can correct your mind, and it's the end of the dream. It's over. You don't have to come back over and over and over again. For what? To live another separate life.
Before I even learned about this Course, I was horrified to hear that when my mother died, I go to Spiritualist Church, and I think that's how I must have known about it. My mother was really unhappy. She didn't settle down in spirit for a long time. She just felt that there was something she wanted to do with me and that kind of thing. She did not settle down for a long time. And that, funny enough, really got to me. I thought, wow, heaven is fine. It's perfect. And I thought, what is she going through all this for?
Because she hadn't corrected her mind. Heaven is a state of mind.
This is before I did this Course, and it really got to me that.
So if you pass away and your mind has still got guilt and fear and sin, and you still believe in this thought system of the ego, well, you come back. You reincarnate until you've learned your lesson, which is, I don't want to be separate. I don't want to be separate from oneness anymore. I want only that. I choose only that. And that's the escape. So just to finish the story, now you've created a apparently physical universe where there's all these separate parts. The mind has basically fragmented itself. Everything's a projection of mind, and the mind is now fragmented into billions and billions, trillions of little bits. And each one apparently has a separate mind, right? I have a bit of consciousness, you have consciousness, the dogs have consciousness, the flowers have, and all these things seem to have some kind of separate reality, right? The separate forms, the energy, the matter of the universe. And what most philosophies and teachings try to do is they try to make sense of that. They try to somehow spiritualize it and say, oh, somehow God created the universe. God created everything. And it's just not true. If God is perfect oneness, God cannot create separation. There's a fundamental distinction there. that the Course is asking us to make over and over and over again. If God is perfectly one, perfectly loved, then he has absolutely nothing to do with separation and duality and pain and sickness and suffering and death and everything that goes along with that. So it's a complete split. The mind is split. We're now in an alternate reality. We're dreaming a dream of separation. And the only way out is to go, the whole dream needs to go. The whole thought system, the whole dream. It just has to be, it's got to be done away with. Because you cannot have perfect oneness and separation and be sane. They contradict each other completely. It's a complete contradiction.
Do you think I used to love, for example, going to the game reserve, and there was always the thing was to see a kill. Now it repulses me when I look at TV and these animals suffering because the other has to eat.
But that's the setup. Everything here, like we in order to support your life, you now have to consume some other life. Whether it's an animal or a plant has to die. Like I go and pick the lettuce leaf, the spinach leaf, well, that's the end of it. Whatever existence it had, it's now, And so that's the world we've set up. But it's so intrinsic that most people don't want to see it. It's like, it's a world of scarcity. It's a world of haves and haves nots. It's a world of, I have, because I have, you can't have.
Yeah. But I don't think
so I have life, and you have to sacrifice your life for my life.
Yeah.
That's how the ego works. Because the ego isn't an inclusive thought system. It's one or the other.
Yeah.
And that's the setup. That's the universe we live in. But it's so deeply entrenched that most people can't even see it. And they won't question it and go, hang on. Like does really look at the thought system that drives all of us. Because if you really, really look like Jesus did, you start to see it's insane. This isn't created by God. This has absolutely nothing to do with God. It's completely insane. There's no hope here. And your only hope is to go back to God.
Yeah. And tell me, Buddhism, does that preach this more or less? Is this the nearest you'll get to this?
Well, yes and no. I mean, Buddhism, a lot of, there's various different aspects of Buddhism. It's just like Christianity. There's different threads. The Buddhists talk about the mind. They don't talk about God. Buddha never believed in a God, although he understood the Advaita Vedanta, because that's where it came from. But he didn't say there's God, because the problem is, as soon as we go God, what do? We make an idol of it. And now we go, God's something separate from us, which is exactly what happened in Hinduism.
Yeah.
Is they made all these, they went, okay, there's God, and then there's all these deities, and he said, no, guys, you're missing the point here, right? This is about a mind. This is mind training. You need to start learning to control your mind and coming into a place where there's no desire and there's no fear.
Yeah.
So Buddha said the source of all suffering is desire. He was right. To a point. He didn't go the whole hog and said there's also guilt.
But I've never really thought about it.
The source of all suffering is desire. Why? Because we desired a separate self.
Okay.
We desired to be separate. That was where it started from. That was the tiny man idea.
Okay.
And now that gets played out in all kinds of apparently separate desires that the separate self has. Oh, I'd like a bigger house. I'd like a bigger car. I'd like more money, more sex, drugs, rock and roll, whatever it is.
So if you
but that sets us up for a state of scarcity. Because if I desire more, then what am I really saying? I'm not complete and whole if I need more, am I? I must need something. So now we have the illusion of needs, which just brings in the illusion of scarcity. Now I must somehow be separate from oneness. And so the more we desire things in this world, the more we keep the illusion of separation going. It's very tricky. The ego is a very, very tricky thought system. Because it's going to try and justify all these desires and then all the fears. Because if I desire, now automatically what I do, I fear. Oh, I want that, but what if I don't get it? What happens if I don't get it? And so fear and desire go hand in hand. And we get caught up in this really just a thought system. It's a way of thinking that it isn't happy. We don't feel happy. We don't feel at peace. We don't feel calm and peaceful and restful. We feel quite the opposite. Desire, fear, well, where's the stability? Who am I then in all of this?
So, but did he coin that idea, Buddha?
What? Desire.
Desire. Or did he see that that's how humanity works?
Well, he just observed and he went, okay, I see that desire is a source of suffering, because when the mind desires, it goes away. You have to go out of oneness to desire anything else. If you're perfect, whole, and complete, you don't desire anything.
Yeah.
I already am that.
Sure.
But what the mind did was it made up an illusion that somehow I'm not that. I've made up a separate identity in which I'm seemingly separate, and now that separate self seemingly has desires and needs and wants, and it can fear that it won't have them met. But it's an illusion.
Yeah.
Because actually you're perfect, you're whole, you're complete, and you always will be. And until you accept that, you're in the ego trying to find some kind of satisfaction in a thought system that will never satisfy you. It's not designed to satisfy you. It's false. How can what's false satisfy you? And you get caught up in all of this evolution of, so all these life forms, you've got these separate forms. We've identified with their forms, including humans, especially humans, and then we play these games of accusation, blame, control, attack with other people and other living creatures.
Has Christianity always taught what we're learning now, and it's just people that twisted it?
No, I mean, Jesus taught this, but his disciples didn't really understand it.
That's what I'm saying.
Because it's a pretty radical teaching. It's a pretty radical philosophy.
Yeah.
Bear in mind, 2,000 years ago, they didn't understand about the universe and cosmology or anything. They were brought up in the Judaic tradition, which is very much, fearful, vengeful, wrathful God, seemingly separate from you, who's going to judge you, who's going to punish you. And they couldn't fully get their head around what he was saying.
No, sure.
Because people today struggle to get their head around this.
Exactly.
This is a high-level philosophical, metaphysical teaching that takes a lot of intellect, first of all, and then practice to really start getting this, really start internalizing these ideas, and then starting to apply it. Okay, so I'm in a dream. Jeez, I mean, that's pretty radical. This is a dream. None of this is real. I'm not really here. This existence that I think is my existence isn't really existence at all. It's a false existence. So who am I there? I mean, it's a deep searching that you got to go within, and you got to really question and work through these things, and then practice on an ongoing basis. Practice forgiveness. So you're now caught up in this nightmare world of separation, with guilt and fear and attack seemingly real, accusation, blame, control, attack. This is happening all the time because this is what the ego wants. And now you have to be really conscious and aware and say, okay, but I'm not going to believe in any of these stories. I'm not going to believe that actually I am separate. And I have this separate self who can be hurt. And as these ideas arise, as these thoughts arise, I'm going to be able to look at them. I have the awareness to look at them and just let them go and dismiss them and go, no, this is untrue, false, unreal, however you want to call it. Untrue. So why am I thinking untrue thoughts? Why am I feeling untrue feelings?
I was trying to think, what would it be like to reach atonement and then still live on in this life until your death?
Well, the only way you'll know is if you do it yourself. But the idea is you can be very peaceful, very happy, very loving, because none of those ideas mean anything to you anymore. There's no hold. So whatever's happening externally, the triggers that trigger most people to feel these feelings, to feel guilt and sin and fear and attack and hatred and anger and etc. Those triggers simply, if you realize they're all false, you realize that it's a setup, then they have no power to impact you. So you're free of them. You don't need to feel those feelings. You don't need to think those thoughts. And well, we've seen examples of people who've lived that way. Jesus, Buddha, they have been enlightened beings who got it. They fully got it. They were like, okay, I'm still apparently in the body. My mind's still apparently in the body, and yet I'm not really attached to the body. I don't really believe in the story.
He's brought it up in the Course in Miracles. What happened when Jesus is now living this life, thinking out there, and then they want to crucify his body. Still living in this, like he's almost attracting that to him. This terrible.
Well, he chose it as a lesson. He said, "Okay, I'm gonna teach this as my final lesson on earth. This is what you do." So he went through it. He physically went through it. His body got crucified. He died. The worst thing that possibly could happen seemed to happen to him. And this is, not how anyone wants to end their life. But he went, "I'll go through this to demonstrate to the world that irrespective, it doesn't matter what happens to the body, the mind is free, and the mind cannot die." And so then he resurrected to say, "Look, I didn't really die, because the mind can't die. The body died temporarily, but
he didn't really suffer on the cross, did he?
We'll never know. But I don't think his mind suffered. So remember, suffering, physical pain is not suffering, right? So the body's experiencing a physical pain because a nail's gone in through your. But suffering is when you go, "Oh my God, this is terrible. This is awful. What's happening to me?" That's the mental and emotional suffering.
To your body, you're still feeling these things.
Well, but we don't know. Maybe he was so transcendent that he didn't even experience it. There are yogis who can lie on nail beds and have operations and stuff, and they don't feel anything.
Okay.
Because their mind is somewhere else. So we don't know.
I was just wondering what I could do about myself, actually. That's why.
Well, what you can do is just it's not really about physical healing. It's about healing of the mind. That's what he emphasizes over and over in the course. Heal the mind. Go back to oneness. And the body will follow suit. Or not. Maybe not. Ramana Maharshi, enlightened being. He died of cancer. How do you explain that? Well, that was his way out, I suppose. It was the end of his body. But he didn't suffer.
Heart attack and die.
Well, Paramahansa Yogananda had a heart attack. He was another enlightened.
Paramahansa.
Yeah, he had a heart attack. So at quite a young age, you can't say. But he knew. It's like, yeah, I'm going now. It was his time, and he was like,
No,
okay.
I've remembered Paramahansa. I did read his book.
It's time. He said, I'm going. He knew. So there's no attachment to the physical. It's just like, okay, the body's, the body's temporary. It's a temporary vehicle. It's never going to be eternal. It's a useful tool for learning in this life.
What's this teaching me?
Hmm?
It's terrible, Jonathan, to be sleep deprived. In spite of all the anti-inflammatories I take, doesn't last the whole night. Still wake up. I often wake up in pain still.
Yeah, well, the ego likes to keep you in a state of being weakened and of being seemingly vulnerable. So sleep deprivation is a great tool because you're feeling tired, you're feeling weakened. If you're feeling tired, often you feel a bit depressed, a bit lackluster. So I understand. You're up against this. This is not an easy thing to undo.
Yeah.
A thought system that has now created a whole world of illusion, a whole universe. Your body, everything that you think you see and that's real here was made by the ego.
Mm.
It's not a trivial exercise in undoing. And yet it's still quite simple because there's only two thought systems. Because it's split, you can see very clearly, with this kind of mind training the course is training you to do, you can start to see very clearly what's true and what's not, what's true and what's false. And if you can distinguish between what's true and false, then it's pretty easy. You go, well, that's false. So why would I believe in what's false? It's false. It's unreal. It's non-existent. So I'm going to let it go. So all of this guilt and fear and attack and the projection of our own guilt, projection of our abandonment and rejection onto others, and then we're feeling wounded, all of this just is the ego stock in trade. It wants us to believe that we are individual, we are separate, we are unique, we are special, and we are the victim of an unfair world. That's the program. Where we can be unfairly treated, where we can be hurt, where we feel we live in this helpless, innovated little life, that's hell. That's the lowest self-concept that ego is capable of, is the victim. I'm the victim. And I've got no control now of my own mind. I'm at the victim. I'm at the mercy of circumstances and people and events that are beyond my control.
Someone could explain what happened last night. I had these violent dreams, but there's pain. It was weird last night.
Well, maybe it's showing you that your the real source of your pain is mental and emotional. And that just manifests in the physical. So maybe because you were having the dream, that had less, it wasn't being projected into your body as much.
Something like that, yeah.
Well, just ask for guidance. There's the Holy Spirit will guide you, will show you the truth within the dream. The Holy Spirit's purpose is to show you the way out of this maze of guilt and sin and fear and attack and separation, and to show you step by step, okay, this is how you can find your way back to oneness. You can start looking at these false beliefs.
Yeah.
The victim, the idea that you can be hurt, rejected, abandoned, the guilt, the fear, the sin, the attack, all the games we play. You start, as these things crop up, and as you notice these thoughts and emotions, you become aware of them. You go, this is false. I can let it go. I don't have to believe in this anymore. And as you do that, what you're doing is you're correcting your mind on a fundamental level.
Yeah.
Because it's a fundamental level that needs to be corrected.
Yeah.
If you keep believing that you're separate, you keep coming back.
Okay.
Because that's what a separate identity does. You have to have a body.
Yeah. Okay. Thanks.
And so your way out of this is forgiveness. You're saying, look, there's only one way out of this. All spiritual practice ultimately leads you to forgiveness, to this idea that you can let go of negative thoughts, negative emotions, things that don't serve you as they show up in the world. So things show up, it triggers the thoughts and emotions, you become aware of them, and then you go, this is false. Because once you understand this whole teaching, you go, it's got to be false. Everything here is false. There's no exception to that.
Yeah.
There's not one thing here that's true. It's all part of an illusory construct of the mind. It's just like really getting your head around that and starting to apply that and live that in your life. That's the work. That's the spiritual work, and that's the mind training.
Well, before you can go to bed, I'm doing that little exercise. Saying to the Holy Spirit, it's not what people have done to me, it's my concept of myself, and just help me to get rid of it before I even get out of bed.
Well, that's good. So, all these things are helpful. Doesn't mean it's going to happen overnight, but it's a constant reminding. Okay, so just, as these patterns, these are deep-seated, entrenched patterns of thought and behavior.
Yeah.
That, something happens, and we're wired up to respond. Stimulus, react. Stimulus, react. When you notice that happening, just go, hang on, okay. Just take a step back. I'm noticing what's happening, and I don't really want to get upset because that just disturbs my peace. I'd rather be peaceful and flowing and happy.
Yeah.
So I can let this go. And the reason, like, I send you these breath breaks and so on, is to help you to do that. It's just the practice. The spiritual practices are there to help you to let go of thoughts and emotions that don't serve you. That's all they're there for.
Yeah.
If you could do it in an instant yourself, then great, do it. But most people, it's training, because we're so used to react. Emotion, the thought comes, the emotion comes, and very quickly we get irritated, we get upset. That produces chemicals in our body, which reinforces the pattern. And then if that keeps firing, if we keep doing that over and over and over again, then it's just a deeply entrenched pattern of thought and behavior that now is going to take a lot of work to undo.
Well,
because
77 years, you're right, just in this life.
We've practiced so many times that reaction of, okay, something happens, it triggers me, I feel the reaction, the chemicals come in, I feel abandoned, I feel rejected, I feel hurt. Then maybe I nurture that hurt, I juice it, I stay there for days maybe, and all those chemicals keep producing, because the thoughts produce the chemicals which reinforce the emotions. And so now I get wired into the negativity of the ego. I get wired into that pattern of thought and feeling. And it takes quite a lot to undo it. Constant practice, constant like, okay, no, I can let this go. I can feel peace instead. I don't have to get upset.
I was just wondering what other mindsets there are over and above abandonment that I have. I suppose there are lots of other mindsets.
Well, it's all part of it. Remember, the thought system is one. The ego thought system is one thought system. So it's a thought of being the victim. That's part of being abandoned and rejected.
Yeah.
I'm the victim. I'm separate. I'm helpless. I'm afraid.
Now, I'm just wondering what other people have. You know what kind.
Well, everyone has. We all got the same stuff. We just play out differently. But at the core of every ego is the belief that I've been rejected. I've been abandoned. I'm somehow not good enough. I'm somehow not worthy. I'm not okay as I am. And it doesn't matter what you do to try and fix that. As long as you believe you're separate, you can't fix it.
It doesn't appear like everyone is a victim.
It doesn't appear.
To me, it doesn't. Perhaps they think like that, but it certainly doesn't appear.
No, because you don't know what they're thinking. But almost everyone wandering around here, if they're not enlightened, and there are very few who are, has this core program of unworthiness, of feeling like somehow less than okay. And then what we do, so what a lot of people try and do, is they try and succeed on the level of form.
Okay.
So they go, okay, I feel less than. Okay, so I'm going to make it happen. I'm going to make it work. I'm going to, build a business, or I'm going to do whatever. And that's going to make me feel better about myself to counteract it. But as long as that fundamental inadequacy remains, that's not going to work. In fact, a lot of people, you listen to Marisa Peer and her thing about, celebrities and stuff. So they feel inadequate, they feel unworthy. And then they go, okay, well, to counteract that, I'll go and I'll be massively successful, and I'll go and, I'll become famous and wealthy, and then I'll feel worthy. Then I'll feel better about myself. And then the problem is, she says, they get there, and then they've got nowhere else to go. They've done it. They've achieved their dream. They're successful. They're famous. They're wealthy, and yet they still don't really feel worthy. And so now there's nowhere else for them to go. They can't now achieve more because they've kind of done it. And so then they go into dysfunction, and they go into drugs and alcohol, and to try and alleviate the pain, because they don't know how else to cope with it. There's nowhere for them to go.
Sure.
But if they just simply realize that, God, I am worthy as I am. I didn't have to do any of that stuff. It was all, I didn't need to prove my worth. My worth is given by God. My worth is given in my eternal fundamental creation.
I must tell you something else that played on my mind last night. Everything negative that happened this week all came together last night. Now, I've got a friend who was raped. She was raped as a father, raped her as well. Now then, a man that she really liked, so-called raped her. And this played on my mind. I don't know. Perhaps it's happened to me in the past, but not this life. And all this came together last night. Ugh. It was quite terrific.
In your dream?
Yeah.
Well, that's good, because it's coming into consciousness.
Is that the Holy Spirit who's doing that?
You need to see it. The Holy Spirit will bring your dreams into awareness so that you can become aware of them and let them go. Because unless you become aware of them and go, okay, I'm willing to really see what this dream is. This dream of separation that the ego touts, and it's always trying to lure you into, like, oh, actually there's something of value here. And you just got to see it for what it is. This is what happens here.
Yeah.
Over and over, repeatedly. And it's happened throughout history. Why do we suddenly think that it's going to be different? After thousands and thousands of years of, all the drama of the human condition, and all the pain and the suffering and the misery, and why do we think it's going to be different for us?
What I want to know is, why did I feel so much that it impacted on me? I really felt for her, but anyway. Because she's not on this wavelength at all, and I thought, how can I help her if she's not on this wavelength? What I did say is pray. So you know what she said? Yeah, well, why didn't God help me when my father abused me?
Yeah, but there's the projection of God somewhere outside of you. What she's done is she's put herself in this victim situation, to be abused, and now that plays into an ego story of I'm the victim, I'm abandoned by God. Why didn't God help me? Instead of going, but I abandoned God. I abandoned love once upon a time.
You see, if you haven't studied it, you can't tell it.
Well,
so I don't know.
You can teach her to forgive. If you can teach someone to start letting go of the negativity, of the thoughts and the emotions, the feeling sorry for herself, feeling the victim, feeling angry towards her father, angry at God, that's all what keeps the ego in place.
What I couldn't understand is the next day I said, how are you? She's actually the hairdresser at the center where I do my activities. I said, I hope you've forgotten that guy. Well, and I said, what? She still wanted to see him.
Yeah, but then you got to ask why. Okay, so someone's abused you, and then you go back, and this is a common pattern. A lot of abused women abuse men too, but it seems to be more, because men are physically stronger. They go back for more abuse. You're like, what are you doing?
It's going to happen.
But there's why? Because that feeds her ego.
Yeah.
I spoke to a woman. She lived for 19 years with a guy who badly abused her.
This happens.
And she came out of it, and she said, I had to wake up and realize that I was responsible, that I was part of creating that. Okay. We were playing a little game, and I was playing my part in the game. I was the victim, he was the abuser, and then he'd abuse me, and then he'd get all sorry, oh, I'm really sorry, won't you have me back? And then I'd have him back, and then I'd feel sort of like there was some special love, and then the pattern would repeat itself. And until I'm willing to look at the whole drama and go, no, this is ridiculous, this isn't love. This is an illusion of love. It's special love, which turns to special hate, which turns to special love again. And this is just feeding a false self.
I know you like this person, but it's not love.
No, but until she's willing to really wake up spiritually and go, okay, I'm really willing to look at myself. How am I doing this to myself? That's the only place healing happens, when you take responsibility. Then she can go, okay, if I'm doing it to myself, then stop doing it to myself.
She was married.
Just leave the guy. I don't have to hang around with people who are going to abuse me.
It took her a long time, because even when she was married, her husband died a couple of years ago. They were into drugs and everything. So, but I still feel sorry for her. I don't know why. It's
Well, maybe there's a part of you that resonates with her story. She's the victim.
I think so.
But all you can do is learn your own. You can't make her wake up. You can only use it for your own awakening. And in your own forgiveness, maybe she learned something. Maybe it's part of, because you found greater peace and happiness. She comes to you and says, well, help me. Teach me.
You know what I did? I don't know why. I just thought, I said to Patricia, this is near lunchtime. I wasn't even going to stay for lunch. Because it's very reasonable at the center. And I said, tell me, have you had anything to eat today? She said, no. I said, fine. I'm going to order lunch. And I gave her half. And I just can't help feeling that nourishing yourself is doing something for yourself. So she had something where she wasn't going to if I hadn't fed her. I don't know. It was just something instinct that said.
Well, it's a little expression of love. And,
yeah.
Our job in this world is to try and be that love. And that takes many forms. It could just be, giving someone a meal, just being kind to them, just trying to show another way. And there's another way of living, another way of being.
I can't think of any other way to show her love, other than I did hug her.
Yeah.
But I mean, it's not enough. But anyway.
So let's unmute Corin. Corin, you've been very quiet. Hopefully you're still there.
I am.
You still with us? You are.
I am. Yes.
Good. Sorry, Corin. I kind of took over.
No, it's okay. I think she was just listening, which is good. So any comments or questions?
No, that's me. I just sit and listen and my journal.
You're a very good
listener.
it's
So it was really some key things in there for me. Also, like I get quite stressed and caught up. I'm a bit of a perfectionist. And sometimes just get this like, oh, what do I do now? And I've always got my phone with me. So no matter where I am, it's like, okay, a breath break.
Yeah.
Because no matter how busy you are, you actually do have 5 minutes just to go and sit in the car.
Well, that's the idea, you know. I'm glad it's working for you, because it's just to pause, interrupt the pattern. You know, the ego wants you to go down this track, and it's I mean, you said you had a frenetic week and lots of activity, and there's nothing wrong with that overtly. The problem is if your mind starts to go into that pattern of thought and you're not really in flow, it can become quite destructive over the long term. You know, if you keep living that way, running around madly, and it's all about doing. You know, we're not human doings, we're human beings. Fundamentally, it's connecting with that beingness. And if you can then do from your beingness, that's the idea of flow. And it's coming out of that place where, okay, I'm connected, I'm peaceful, I'm rooted in my beingness, and I'm doing what I'm doing, but it's very, there's a calmness about it. There's a flow to it. And so you got to be very aware of, okay, so what am I thinking? What am I feeling? Always ask yourself that question. And if I'm not peaceful and I'm feeling stressed and I'm feeling anxious or upset or, in any way, then I'm out of alignment. I'm not really in flow, am I? And so then it's just, okay, come back to beingness. Use a breath break, use a meditation, come back into that place where it's okay. I am, because the point is, you are okay as you are. Full stop. All right? That's what this course is saying. I am okay as I am. Exactly as I am, exactly as I was created. There's been no change to my fundamental nature ever. So nothing that I do in this world really affects that at all. I can't make myself more worthy by doing stuff. I can't make myself feel better really by doing stuff. Yes, in the illusion of time and space, seems we have to do stuff. We've got these lives we live. We've got, businesses and projects, and, you're in that phase of manifesting, and there's nothing wrong with that. However, just be really, really careful that you don't get sucked into it. And now it becomes more about the doing and the external and the achievement, rather than about, actually, this is just an expression of my beingness. And I'm able to be who I really am while I'm doing this. Being is primary, doing is secondary. The doing comes out of being. And if I'm really connected and I'm really calm and peaceful, I do everything in a different state of mind. And whatever I do has a different quality of energy. It flows more. It's not that desperate. If you're doing out of desperation and you're doing because you're fearful or you're anxious or you're stressed, whatever you do takes on that quality, and the doing is not that effective. It tends to just create more of itself. So you do something when you're anxious, it tends to create more anxiety. Have you noticed that? Smile.
I am smiling because, it's exactly that, Jonna. It's a few weeks ago, I was rushing from place to place, photographs, packaging, customers, etc., not looking after myself, not nurturing myself. And I did something very rare. I stopped and I bought a pie, which is like so unusual for me. And I thought, well, I'm going to make sure if it's a pie, I'm going to make sure it's from a good quality place and that it's really hot. So I definitely don't want a funny tummy. And I bit into this pie and I burnt my lip, like the source of where you put your food in your mouth. And it was this huge blister on the side of my mouth. It was so painful to eat for another 3-4 days. Lo and behold, just getting past that blister, and I thought to myself, it was my birthday last week, Thursday or the Thursday before. Thought to myself, you know what, just don't. It's just another day. Do your Pilates class. And I was rushing because the coffee machine spilt all over the place, and bang, whacked my toe. And I thought, it's just a toe. Carried on with my Pilates class, had my day, and I went downstairs to make a cup of tea. And I suddenly realized, I think my toe's it's cracked. And we had the scuba diving course 2 days later. So not only was I hobbling around, like the universe is just telling me, slow down, don't eat so fast, don't walk so fast. It's now saying, you didn't listen, so here's another lesson, and you're not even going to be able to walk so fast.
Wow.
And then we start doing the scuba diving, toes, feet into a booty, into a fin, now you're finning. And then, of course, like I'm overachieving even like underwater, and the dive master comes to me and he turns off my air, and I'm like, and he's like, slow down. You've got another regulator. Like, he kept on saying to me, and there's my husband and his best friend, like diving, just cruising around. And there's me, like, and this guy just said, slow down.
Oh.
So, another week later, because this time last week we were just finishing off, and I'm thinking to myself last week, the toes just sore because it's been stressed with diving. And no, I try and do something a little bit faster, and what happens? I knock it again, and I can just be grateful it's just a toe, but it's just the universe saying, whoa, slow the hell down before you get another lesson. And that's what I got from what you were saying as well. It's just, these are physical things, but there's also emotional things. So last night we were just watching something very lighthearted on TV, just winding down, and something came up in my head that happened with a friend recently that really hurt me. And I was also kind of in that mode where you said, the only place I think your words were, the only place that healing happens is when you take responsibility. So I realized that I was pointing fingers saying that, she did this and she did that, but I attracted it. So I sat there last night, like trying to figure it out, and it became a lot more clear now during this discussion. So thank you for that.
You see, it's just on such a deep level. So we do this so unconsciously. This is normal in this world, that actually we all creating and attracting mostly a lot of shit, a lot of painful stuff, and we don't realize why we're doing it. We don't really know. It's so because it's in our subconscious. This default thought system of the ego, the sin, the guilt, the fear, the attack. This is very, very deep seated. This is, in fact, the very foundation of humanity. This is why we decided to become human, to run away from God. So, it goes to the very core of human existence and the human condition, and, the existential angst that we all feel, like, what the hell's going on here? And why am I even human? What's going on here? And it takes a lot of work to start becoming conscious of it and going, okay, so what's really going on here? Why am I thinking these thoughts? Why am I feeling this way? Why do I keep doing the same thing, attracting the same kinds of experiences, and the same patterns repeat in my life? Because we do have the same kind of patterns. And it's because on a deeper level, there's this ego thought system that's running the show. That's running us, really. We puppets on a puppet string. And it's coming in, and it's trying to make us think these thoughts and believe them, and then act them out and control us. But it's not really who we are. And only by slowing down and doing this kind of spiritual practice where we do some meditation, we do reflection, we do discussions, just zooming out and looking and going, okay, so what's really going on here? And actually, am I going anywhere with this? Because what Jesus is saying is, look, the universe is going nowhere. It doesn't matter what you think you're doing, what you're trying to achieve in this world. Ultimately, it's going nowhere. It's just a dream. It's spinning itself around, and you keep recycling yourself into the dream and having different bodies and creating different illusions and different things that you think you have to do. But ultimately, the ego is simply designed to perpetuate itself, to keep you separate, to keep you in the human condition, to keep you as an individual, a victim, and so on. And the only answer is to get out, to go back to oneness. Now, the art of this, the art of waking up, is to do that, to use your life constructively for that purpose. So yes, you're still going to function in the world. You apparently have this life here. You've got stuff to do, etc. But don't lose sight of the real purpose. And the real purpose is your awakening. So use everything for your awakening. Yeah, your business, your relationships, your home life, whatever it is, your scuba diving, all of it can be used for your awakening. It can all be things that you learn from. So there's nothing wrong with going, okay, I'm literally stubbing my toe on this, and that's part of my awakening. I'm conscious enough to realize that this is what's happened, this is what I'm doing, and okay, that's very useful. Like it's it was a useful experience, because otherwise I don't awaken if I don't have these experiences. And so some level of discomfort and pain is almost necessary. If there's no discomfort or pain, then there's no need to awaken, is there? Everything's hunky-dory, you find. So just try and apply. It's a moment by moment practice. You apply these principles in your daily life by just calming down, by slowing down, by taking some time out, taking a breath break, taking the time to meditate. And the ego is going to say you don't have time for this. But as you say, you do, like 5 minutes. Like seriously, you've got 5 minutes. No matter how busy you are, you can take 5 minutes and just go, okay, let me just pause, reset, reconnect. And then you're in a different state of mind once you do that. And your state changes and your day changes. You're looking something up. What are you reading?
It's Louise Hay, You Can Heal Your Life.
You Can Heal Your Life, okay.
Yeah, so I just wanted to see toes again. It represents
so what are toes?
Sorry?
So what are toes stubbing? What does stubbing your toe mean in her?
Represent the minor details of the future. And the affirmation is all details take care of themselves.
Okay. Oh, nice.
I guess having my own business and not earning a salary for a year and launching a product and everything are maybe major details in my world, but they're probably quite minor in the grand scheme of things.
Well, anything in time and space. I mean, this is what he's saying. Time and space is an illusion. So don't make distinctions among illusions. An illusion is an illusion is an illusion. It doesn't matter whether you're launching $1 billion company or just trying to grow your own little small business, or just whatever you're doing. It's still part of an illusory construct. The mind makes these distinctions and says, "Oh no, that's bigger, that's smaller, that's more important." Jesus is trying to get us to see. Look, it's all illusion. There's only 2 distinctions. There's truth and illusion. It's all illusion. Whatever you're doing here is illusion. So you think this illusion is more important than another one. It's not really. That's all your mind's own judgment of it. So don't get caught up in it. And then you start seeing beyond it, because the ego doesn't want you to see beyond it. Once you get caught up in the details of time and space and constantly looking to the future, if I just get that right, then I'll be okay. And so it's never now. It's always, if I do this, then. And so you're living for the next moment, not for right now. And obviously, if you're running your own business, it's almost impossible not to think about the future at all. But when you do it, you can be very present. Okay, so I'm planning right now. I'm making a plan now. I need to get this done. I've done a business plan, or I've done I know what I need to do over the next month to get this product launched, whatever. But you try and focus like just moment by moment. I'm in the moment. I'm focusing now. I'm doing my plan now. Okay, tomorrow I'll make the calls. Then I'll, the endless things you have to do. But you just try and be really present, rather than going, it's all about when I get there, when I've got the product launch, and when I make my first 100,000 Rand of sales, and when because it's very tempting to do that. And then you're living, when you catch yourself doing that, you're not really in the now. You're not now. You're actually mentally somewhere in the future. You're in an illusion, because that's all just the future is just mental. It's a mental construct, isn't it? And I'm not actually present now. Whereas you can go, okay, right now, what should I do? If you keep asking that question, the Holy Spirit, you might find like you just get the guidance. Right now, what should I do? Okay, and then you get an idea. Okay, well, do your invoicing, or do your product label, whatever it is, and it'll just kind of come to you. And you go, okay, well, I'll do that now. And then you do that, and then okay, so what's the next thing to do? And then it's like, okay, well, you can stop working now, and you can go and have dinner. So now I'm having dinner, or now I'm meditating, and it's just, it flows. You're in the now. One thing flows to the next. And if you're in that state of consciousness, you're not rushing, because you're just now. You're present. In fact, the definition of Zen, one Zen master is asked what the definition of Zen is, and he said it's doing one thing at a time. Just doing one thing at a time, being completely present in the moment in whatever you're doing, basically. And so I'm not trying to do 10 different things in my mind. I'm just doing that one thing. And the reason why you stubbed your toe and you burnt your lip was you were probably doing 5 things in your head at the same time, weren't you? It's like, oh, I'm doing that and I'm doing that. Let me just bite it. Oh, God.
I was driving, looking at my customer list,
yeah,
programming my GPS, eating and trying not to spill my coffee.
Yeah, it's completely the opposite of oneness. You're not really present. It's like you got 5 different things going on, and you're doing none of them particularly well. And then, of course, burn my lip because I'm not really present. If you just sat down, okay, let me take 5 minutes and just eat my pie consciously. Oh, no, it's a bit hot. So let me let it cool down. Do you know what I mean? But because your mind is not there, it's not present. It's like, oh, then that's when you hurt yourself. That's when you make mistakes, because you weren't really there. And so, if it's a habitual pattern, then just be aware of it and go, okay, I'm aware of my mind spinning. I'm like 5 steps ahead already in my mind, but I can only take 1 step at a time. It's sort of like, okay, let me be fully present now in this step. Okay, I'm driving now, so I'm driving to my next thing. Or I'm eating my pie, or I'm meditating, and then when I've done that, then the next thing will unfold, and the next thing. And actually, you'll be much more effective. And you'll just feel more relaxed and more peaceful, and your day becomes one of flowing. You're just kind of flowing with whatever you're doing. And so when you're in the flow, you connected with your being. You connected with source. You're coming from that place of, I'm okay. I'm okay no matter what happens in the dream. I'm okay no matter what I do or don't do. I'm okay
That's got to be
as I am.
Falling. When the lightning struck and ruined my TV and my router and everything.
Mm-hmm.
I went into a bit of a depression. I thought, oh God, that's my company. I don't know, I'm going to get one next. And I had that too before. I'm sure it's connected.
Yeah.
Somehow.
It's all connected. Remember, we're doing this all to ourselves. It's your dream. Whatever's happening, it's your dream. Just remember that. And the illusion is, no, it's someone else is doing this to me, something else external to me. But nothing can happen unless it's dreamed up by a mind, and you're part of the dream. The setup is you think, no, it's something else or someone else doing it to me. But that's just projection. It's actually my own mind has projected this, and now it's created the situation. And now, if I perceive it from my ego, that just reinforces the ego, which is what it wants. So this false self leads to this idea of projection. The world is the projection of the ego. So now we keep playing in the projection, and we don't want to really look. We don't want to take it back and go, okay, but what's happening fundamentally? What do I really believe? And how is my projection just a projection of these beliefs? How am I creating this reality myself through these beliefs? Because when you start doing that, then you start undoing the ego. You start really looking at it and understanding, okay, it's a belief system. It's my belief system. I don't blame anyone else for it. I believe these things. but I can choose to let them go as well. I don't have to continue believing them. Which is actually, it seems completely obvious, doesn't it? That, you know, we should know this, but this is the journey of spiritual awakening. The vast majority of people don't know this. We're in the illusion that somehow we're separate, that somehow these things can happen to us, somehow we're the victim, and not really taking full responsibility and saying, like, okay, I did this to myself. No one else did it. I did it. I made it all up. I made up my dream. Everything, all of it. Because it's either all or nothing. You can't go, well, I'm somewhat responsible for my dream. I'm either 100% responsible or I'm not. It's either or. Does that make sense? And there are these levels of awakening. So we can go through this quickly and then we'll call it to a close. So what I love about the Course, you know, he gives the ultimate truth, but then he's also saying, look, there's a way out of the dream here. And it's not going to happen overnight. There's a process to this. And so it gives us this gentle process of awakening by practicing the lessons, by working with the Course. And he's saying there are these levels of trust, the development of trust. Okay, so he talks about trust as the first foundation on which their ability to fulfill their function rests. Perception is a result of learning. In fact, perception is learning because cause and effect are never separated. The teachers of God have trust in the world because they've learned it is not governed by the laws the world made up. It is governed by a power that is in them but not of them. It is this power that keeps all things safe. It is through this power that the teachers of God look on a forgiven world. And when this power has once been experienced, it is impossible to trust one's own petty strength again. Who would attempt to fly with the tiny wings of a sparrow when the mighty power of an eagle has been given him? And who would place his faith in the shabby offerings of the ego when the gifts of God are laid before him? What is it that induces them to make the shift? Okay, so just to close this, shall we just read a paragraph each?
Which one is it?
So on development of trust, section 4 of the Manual for Teachers.
Are we not doing the teachers of God?
Yeah, this is the characteristics of the teachers of God.
Which one?
Section 4,
4.
Manual for Teachers.
Yeah, but which?
Trust, first one, A, development of trust.
Okay.
There, that's where you're. Top of that page, Hazel.
Yeah.
Okay, so do you want to read the first paragraph?
Me.
Yeah, development of trust.
First, they must go through what might be called a period of undoing. This need not be painful, but it is usually so experienced. It seems as if things are being taken away, and it is rarely understood initially that their lack of value is merely being recognized. How can lack of value be perceived unless the perceiver is in a position where he must see things in a different light? He is not yet at a point at which he can make the shift entirely internally. And so the plan will sometimes call for changes in what seem to be external circumstances. These changes are always helpful. When a teacher of God has learned that much, he goes on to the second stage.
Okay. Does anything stand out for you there?
Well, so the plan will sometimes call for changes in what seem to be external circumstances.
Yeah. So this is often what happens is when people start on this journey, there's a period of undoing. They lose stuff. That's typically what it stuff, material possessions, businesses, careers, lifestyles, partners, stuff seems to fall apart. And that's this period of undoing, which can be quite difficult. As you said, this need not be painful, but it usually is so experienced. Because the ego doesn't like it. The ego doesn't like losing stuff. The ego is attached to this stuff. But it's a necessary first stage in this awakening process. And I think we've all been through some of this. If you really start saying, look, I want to wake up spiritually, then stuff's going to change in your life. And that's normal and it's necessary. Okay, so Karen, do you want to read any questions on the first paragraph?
No, good, thank you.
No? Okay, do you want to read paragraph 2?
So starting with the word next.
Yeah, next. Yeah.
Next, the teacher of God must go through a period of sorting out. This is always somewhat difficult because having learned the changes in his life are always helpful, he must now decide all things on the basis of whether they increase the helpfulness or hamper it. He will find that many, if not most things, be valued before he will merely hinder his ability to transfer what he has learned to the situation.
Okay. Whoa. Okay, so just as a little practice, slow down. Okay, slow down in your reading. Just pause for breath, slow down, read each sentence, pause. Just try it, because I think that's part of the learning to slow down in everything. So start again at the top and just read it really slowly. Okay, breathe.
Okay. Next, the teacher of God must go through a period of sorting out. This is always somewhat difficult because having learned that the challenges in his life are always helpful, he must now decide all things on the basis of whether they increase the helpfulness or hamper it. He will find that many, if not most things, he valued before will merely hinder his ability to transfer what he has learned to new situations as they arise. Because he has valued what is really valueless, he will not generalize the lesson for fear of loss and sacrifice. It takes great learning to understand that all things, events, encounters, and circumstances are helpful. It is only to the extent to which they are helpful that any degree of reality should be accorded them in this world of illusion. The word value can apply to nothing else.
Good. That was much better. Did it feel calmer,
Yes.
more peaceful? The course is not meant to be speed read.
I'm going to put a big post-it on the front of it. Slow down.
Yeah, slow down. So did anything stand out for you there?
Definitely the number 2, this is always somewhat difficult because having learned that the changes in his life are always helpful, he must decide that all things on the basis, whether they increase helpfulness or hamper it. So I think that for me is maybe being a little bit resistant to change, is that not all change is bad, and it could be helpful.
Absolutely. Even stubbing your toe can be helpful.
Very.
That's what he's saying. All things, even the painful things, especially the painful things, because it's showing you something. At least you saw that, which is really great. A lot of people are like, oh, this is just terrible. And it's like you're starting to awaken when you're going, okay, I'm willing to look at my experiences and see that actually there's something that's helpful here, even if it was apparently a painful experience. That's the period of sorting out, which you're probably going through right now. It's a period of like...
I mean, it was really interesting because when we were in Bloom, we went with the lady we were there with into town, and she turned and she just wanted to show us like how Bloom has just gone downhill. And she turned, and this other lady kind of almost turned into her. I mean, they were like millimeters away, and this lady flung her window down and shouted and screamed, and we all 3 just sat there in the car, and the lady we were with said, "It's okay, no one got hurt. We're all okay." And I was coming back the next day, and the lady that was driving with me like really spoke about some hurtful things, and I was driving, and I was also like just telling her certain things that I hadn't told her or many people. And we were kind of like getting near to the off ramp where I was going to drop her off, and she said, how do you actually carry that all with you? And isn't it painful? And I said, yes, it is. And I'm working on letting it go. And as I said that, I had a fat smile on my face. And I said, despite what I've been through and despite how much it still maybe hurts, I'm actually still smiling. And through all of this, I'm smiling and I'm laughing about it. And it's pain, but I think it's acknowledging it is, it's painful at the moment, but it's, I guess, also the first part of letting it go and opening the door for new experiences.
Yeah, absolutely. It's a sorting out.
So, yeah.
And he's saying, look, it's difficult. This is always somewhat difficult. Right? These are understatements. Somewhat difficult. Some of these things are extremely difficult to deal with.
Written by a very eloquent person, very eloquent in English, because I might have said a few other choice words in there.
Yeah, you know, there's sort of a subtle humor in the course. This is always somewhat difficult.
Yeah,
It's freaking difficult. This is going to push your buttons big time. It's difficult. This is, and the first one he's saying, this pain, this need not be painful, but it usually is so experienced. So he's telling you, look, this isn't just a walk in the park. This is difficult, and you will experience pain, and you will experience difficulties, but it's necessary. It's part of the process of waking up. This development of trust is the waking up, until you can have total 100% faith in this power of God that you can't see, feel, touch, taste, that somehow, you know, it underlies this whole illusion that we've created. So the reason I wanted to go through this to end it was because we've been through the whole metaphysics of how we descended into hell. This is the way back. This is how we get out. And because we've got so deeply entrenched in you know, this hellish dream, it's quite a process. You know, enlightenment is the only thing that we have. And it is going to be difficult, and it is going to push buttons. And you just have to be willing to go through it and say, okay, you know, that's what it is. If it was easy, then everyone would do it. You know, we would all have woken up many lifetimes ago, but it's not easy. So it's almost the ultimate challenge. I mean, you've always taken on challenges, you know, physical challenges like the scuba diving and you know, skydiving and whatever else. This is the ultimate challenge, enlightenment. Like go into your own mind and work this stuff out and find a place where you can be unshakable and unmovable in the illusion. That's the ultimate challenge. Okay, so I'll read the third stage. The third stage to which the teacher of God must go can be called a period of relinquishment. If this is interpreted as giving up the desirable, it will engender enormous conflict. Again, enormous conflict, difficult. Few teachers of God escape this distress entirely. There is, however, no point in sorting out the valuable from the valueless unless the next obvious step is taken. Therefore, the period of overlap is apt to be one in which the teacher of God feels called upon to sacrifice his own best interests on behalf of truth. He has not realized as yet how wholly impossible such a demand would be. He can learn this only as he actually does give up the valueless. Through this, he learns that where he anticipated grief, he finds a happy lightheartedness instead. Where he thought something was asked of him, he finds a gift bestowed on him. So you mentioned, you know, this idea of undoing, the letting go, period of relinquishment. Often that's giving up things that previously we thought were valuable, we thought were desirable, and just go, actually, they weren't really. I didn't really need those things. They were just, you know, desires the source of all suffering, as the Buddha says. They were just desires of the ego to keep me seeking outside of myself for something external to me to make me feel better about myself. But actually, I am already okay as I am. As he says, the period of overlap, this seeming like we have to give up what we really want, and we have to sacrifice our own best interests on behalf of truth. can create conflict. He said enormous conflict, potentially. A few teachers of God escape this distress entirely. It's a conflict in our own minds that needs to be resolved. And actually, when we do it, as you said, you actually find yourself smiling. It's actually quite lighthearted. Like, actually, what was I anticipated grief and misery and pain, and instead I actually feel quite happy and quite lighthearted when I've really let go. Because we always do when we let go of these burdens that we carry. Okay, so any questions about the third stage?
Well, I didn't know what to expect when I was going to go to my grandchildren all day. I really envisaged a whole lot of noisy kids running in and out and swimming and this and that. And it was the dead opposite, but I actually enjoyed the time because I wasn't quite sure what to expect.
Okay.
I don't know why I bring that up, but
Okay, well, maybe you just let go a little bit of some expectation.
yeah.
If you can relinquish your expectations, because desire is expectation, isn't it? If I have a desire, then I build an expectation of how I think things should turn out. And now I set myself up for pain, because most often they won't turn out that way. And then we, even on a minor level, like, first today I scraped the car. It's like, oh, that shouldn't have happened. Okay, let it go. Then Patricia phones, oh, we're not going. Okay, just let it go. Okay, so it's not happening as I expected it to, but so what? And actually, funnily enough, I had a feeling this morning that I wasn't going to Patricia's.
Yeah.
Don't know why, but actually, there's a part of you that sometimes knows, the ultimate outcome.
That's friend of mine.
There's a
The
deeper
last
knowing.
time it happened, I thought something's going to happen. We're not going to meet tomorrow. Sure enough.
Yeah, intuition.
One bird's going mad here.
So, if you can be guided by intuition, here's something to write down, Carl. Be guided by intuition rather than by the ego's expectations. Because the ego's expectations, there's always going to be anxiety, there's going to be a fear that it's not going to happen, there's going to be that rushing, you're not really in the now. Because like, I need to get there. This is the ego's, I need to get there. Because it's telling you that somehow reality will be better when you get there. It won't actually, but that's the illusion. So you're chasing the next moment always. And when you just pause and go, actually, it's not about getting there. It's not about my expectations. It's about just surrendering now, and allowing myself to be guided right now. Okay, so what should I do right now, in the moment? Then you're in the spirit. The spirit is only now. There's no time in spirit. Even to the point of, okay, so you've got to do something right now to prepare for the future in the ego's thought system. But you just do it right now. What you need to do right now will be given to you. You'll be guided as to what to do. And so it just flows. You do that right now, and then the next thing unfolds. Okay, so what should I do in the next right now, and so on and so on. And there's no like, I'm always chasing for the next moment.
Yeah.
So quite appropriately, do you want to read the next paragraph? Period of settling down. Yeah.
Now comes a period of settling down. This is a quiet time in which the teacher of God rests for a while in reasonable peace. Now he consolidates his learning. Now he begins to see the transfer value of what he has learned. Its potential is literally staggering, and the teacher of God is now at the point in his progress at which he sees in it his whole way out. Give up what you do not want and keep what you do. How simple is the obvious, and how easy to do. The teacher of God needs this period of respite. He has not yet come as far as he thinks. Yet when he is ready to go on, he goes with mighty companions beside him. Now he rests a while and gathers them before going on. He will not go on from here alone.
Okay. Anything stand out for you there?
Yeah, but now he begins to see the transfer value of what he has learned. Its potential is literally staggering, and the teacher of God is now at the point in his progress at which he sees in it his whole way out.
So this is another stage, like, oh my God, this is staggering. And literally, when you really start to get this will stagger you. Like, oh my God, the depth of what he's saying here. This is your whole way out of time and space and the human condition. And it's mind-blowing. It's like, whoa. But this isn't a minor shift or change trying to rearrange the furniture on the Titanic. This is like, just get off the ship, get out of the whole construct entirely. Complete escape, complete freedom, complete peace, love, joy for all eternity. The ego can't even conceive of that. So it's like, whoa, then the ego gets very worried, which then leads to the next stage. Do you want to read stage 5? Karen?
Yes. I was so happy with the period of settling down. Then
So we had 3 difficult periods. Then finally you get a quiet time. And I was like, the next stage is indeed a period of unsettling. Oh, no. Here we go again.
I'm like, oh no, not again.
Not again,
Okay, so the next stage is indeed a period of unsettling. Now must the teacher of God understand that he did not really know what was valuable and what was valueless. All that he really learned so far was that he did not want the valueless and that he did want the valuable. Yet his own sorting out was meaningless in teaching him the difference. The idea of sacrifice, so central to his own thought system, had made it impossible for him to judge. He thought he learned willingness, but now he sees that he does not know what willingness is for. And now he must attain a state that may remain impossible to reach for a long, long time. He must learn to lay all judgment aside and ask only what he really wants in every circumstance. Were not each step in this direction so heavily reinforced, it would be hard indeed.
Okay. Anything stand out for you there? Or anything you're not sure about?
It just almost like just the feeling I got was almost like a feeling of turmoil. Like I was waiting for this flamingo-filled pond to go and rest and get some grub and just full waters. And as I read the first sentence, I kind of felt like, oh, here we go again. Brace yourself.
Period of unsettling.
Yeah.
Yeah, there's levels and levels of awareness, and the ego doesn't give up easily. And so, that's why he's saying, look, this is a process. Here's I'm going to give you a little kind of idea or a little roadmap of the journey so that you're not going to get too freaked out when it's difficult and there's you feel unsettled, and because here it is, he's saying, look, this is what you have to go through. And sometimes you cycle through these. Maybe you might have to go through some of these a number of times. So a period of unsettling before the final, and this is a nice one. So maybe let's do this as the final. We'll just do it as a little closing meditation. So just close your eyes. Connect with your breath. Just going to wait for the plane to go past.
That bird was worse.
Yeah. Yes. That bird at 2 a.m. is crazy.
No, but something's threatening his nest or his eggs
I don't know.
Something.
Oh, it's a plover.
Yeah.
It's just
where are they?
somewhere in the palm tree, I think, or next door. But 2 o'clock in the morning, that bird keeps me
Really?
company. I'm working, yeah.
Really?
Oh. Okay.
Yeah.
Anyway, plane's gone. We can't do anything about the bird,
The
so
cats,
because the
no.
bird lives here. Okay, so just to close the session, close your eyes. Connect with your breath. So nice deep inhale. And exhale. And breathing in again, nice deep inhale. Pause, find some stillness. And exhale out the nose, just watching the breath. And the breath, keep your mind very still, calm, empty, open, but aware. As you listen to these words, just to close out today's session, this is the final period of achievement, which is where we all headed on this journey. This is awakening to the truth, while you're still apparently in a body living in the world. So Jesus says, and finally, there is a period of achievement. It is here that learning is consolidated. Now what was seen as merely shadows before become solid gains, to be counted on in all, quote, emergencies, as well as tranquil times. Indeed, the tranquility is the result, the outcome of honest learning, consistency of thought, and full transfer. This is the stage of real peace. For here is heaven's state fully reflected. From here, the way to heaven is open and easy. In fact, it is here. Who would, quote, go anywhere if peace of mind is already complete? And who would seek to change tranquility for something more desirable? What could be more desirable than this? And so just rest in this peace, total peace and tranquility. For a minute, just step back, watch your breath. As you sink into this peace, just give thanks for this time we spent together, the session, this amazing teaching that's been given to us to guide us home. Take us back to God, back to love, back to our true self, back to peace. So as you breathe in, feel that gratitude in your heart. Feel the peace that comes with total trust, a total certainty in the ultimate reality of love. State of mind in which all illusions have departed from your mind. In which you're totally at peace. So just step back and go there for the next minute of silence as you watch your breath. And so just gently coming back. On the count of 3, you're going to open your eyes, so noticing the stomach rising, chest rising, subtle flow of air into the nostrils. Notice the peace that's in your mind. And by noticing it, you can anchor it in. Just resolve to stay there for the rest of the day, the rest of the evening. Exhale. Notice the energy subsiding back down the front channel of your body, air flowing out of your nostrils, chest and the stomach suck gently back in. So that's 1. 2, just noticing the weight of your body pressing down into the chair, feet touching the ground. Maybe there's a subtle smell as you breathe in your nose, a taste in your mouth. Just notice what you're hearing. It's a very present state. There's no judgment on whatever you're hearing or perceiving. I just allow these sounds to be. They arise, they subside. Start paying more attention to the ground of being. This place of perfect peace and certainty in your mind. Ultimate reality, which is where your trust is fully justified. And then 3, just open your eyes. Just look around again. 30 seconds, just noticing everything. Without any judgment. Notice how peaceful it is when you perceive everything this way. No mental commentary, no judgment is necessary. And this will keep you in this state of mind, this very peaceful state of mind. A period of achievement that he talks about, where peace is your natural state. Peace of mind is complete. There is nothing more desirable that you want. So that's what I wish for you, a very peaceful evening and a peaceful and flowing week ahead in whatever you're doing. Try and bear what we've discussed in mind, stay rooted in your being, no matter what you're doing. And enjoy the process. Namaste. So thank you. Hazel, Karen, thanks for the time. I enjoyed that session.
Thank you. Thanks, Hazel. And thanks very much, Jono.
Yeah, my pleasure.
Always amazing.
Yeah, good. I'm glad you enjoyed it. So just looking ahead to the week, I've got another session on Thursday if you want to join and catch the second half of the presentation. I'll be doing it an hour earlier at 7. So if you join at about 8 o'clock around there, you'll get the second part of it. So I'll be talking about, just a whole program. If you really want to get your teeth into this next year, the Art of Letting Go program is designed to walk you through the entire course. So the workbook, the text, the manual for teachers, and the supplements over the course of a year. And you can participate in, we do this once a week, these discussion sessions. And you're familiar with the breath breaks and the meditations and so on. So join. I'll remind you on Thursday about it, but put it in your diary so long. And I don't know when I'll get DU, but maybe you can join us in 2 weeks at Patricia's. And then you can get it in person.
The timing will be perfectly appropriate.
Yeah, well, hopefully you take. Are you going away in December?
I know, just
a holiday.
Just very briefly to the in-laws for 3 days.
Okay.
I'll take it.
Yeah, you could certainly read it in 3 days. It's not actually a difficult read. So maybe all in perfect time.
Absolutely, I'm busy
Which
plowing
is
through.
Kind of what he's saying in this. Everything is happening in perfect time for your awakening. It's not your ego's program of achieving whatever you think you should be achieving in the world, but it's a different agenda. It's about awakening you to the
It's so interesting because the more I attend and the more I learn from all the online things and the future gatherings, that book just keeps on resonating with me. And I think I actually asked you about it within 5 minutes of the very first one that I actually joined.
You did. Oh, do you?
Yeah.
Yeah, it's a good one. It's a good introduction to the course. It's got all the major themes in there, and it's more understandable for a lot of people. So it's a great way in. And then and then the next step is practice the course. You actually read the course itself, practice the workbook lessons, read the text, and hopefully next year we'll do that together. Because next year I'm going to be a student on my own program. I'm taking the program, going, okay, I'm going to be the student. I'm going to listen to the breath breaks. I'm going to do it as I say other people should do it, as best I possibly can. I'm going to listen to the meditations and do my own program and go, okay, so if I'm now the student, what's my experience of my own course? So I'm really looking forward to that.
That's really interesting because they say you teach best what you need to learn most, but I've never heard of somebody rolling on their own program.
Well, so I've designed it. I almost designed it because I would have loved to have had this 15 years ago when I started. Because it's quite difficult to practice the workbook and do it as he says you should do it. Sometimes he's saying every hour. Even if you can't do every hour, if you manage a few times in the day to just take that time out and go, okay, I'm just going to take the time out, do the 3 minutes, and if you've got a tool like a breath break to help you, that's massively helpful, as opposed to okay, now I've got to find the book, pick it up, read it. It's just easier. So I want to do my own program and go, okay, so if I'm experiencing it as though I was a student who was doing this program, what's my own experience of it? Because then you start to see it from another person's perspective. I think too often a lot of teachers don't apply their own. They might teach this stuff, but if you're not applying it yourself, then it's a bit empty. There's no real integrity there. You've got to practice it yourself. First a student, then a teacher. So so I'm really looking forward to it. I think next year's, and I want to see what happens if I really do the workbook properly for the first time in my life, because I've never really done it properly. I mean, that's just an admission. I've been, I suppose, fairly diligent. I read it a couple of times a day, but he's saying stop every hour and take a minute. And no, I haven't done that because you forget and stuff comes up and you're busy. So I go, okay, if I really make a point of that, and I've got the breath breaks, and I'm going to go okay, take a break now, do it. What happens? If you actually do it, what will happen if you apply this, if you really practice this properly over the course of a year? I think it's going to be pretty amazing, but we'll see. So yes, I'd love it if you join me on my own program.
Lovely.
Yes.
Oh, awesome.
All right. So see you Thursday.
Okay. Thanks, Jono.
All right. I'll send you a reminder in the week.
Okay. Thanks a lot.
Okay.
Have a great weekend.
You too.
What's left of it.
Yes.
Bye.
You too. Okay. Thanks for joining. Bye.
Bye.